And man, what a series to look out for.
Yeah, it really is. NSL, after that first match that we saw him play yesterday, they've actually been on a really good streak, right? They have been smashing their opponents 2-0, 2-0 all the way throughout this. And we actually saw Team Yako play against Revive Me before, and Yako got 2-0 over their opponents, and NSL 2-0 Yako. I mean, they are looking very hot right now on a streak and playing this one out. At the same time, though, I have to say, Grindsky were really strong going into the competition too. GGTY were able to pull out a win over them, so they are no slouches on their own. They are in a very tight matchup, I'd say.
Yep, and definitely, GGTY really have to agree. I think they're elated, right? Going up against Grindsky earlier just now, winning that, in fact, they Grindsky actually beaten them in their SIBO, national qualifiers, that kind of thing, and now they've beaten them. I think that's a big confidence boost that are going up against NSL, and that's going to be one very important factor. However, something that we need to also give a huge shout out is to our sponsors Intel and Yahoo, and of course, up for grabs for both these two teams. One of them will be going home with 550 Singapore dollars richer, the other $250 Singaporean dollars richer.
Yeah, so you at least get something. I mean, I wouldn't say at least get something, but I think it's like, there's so many things, like so many intangibles that you get, not just like the monetary reward, right? Like the FSL have been running leagues and opportunities for these teams to start building up experience again, especially because we are going to be seeing a medal match in the C Games, I believe, for Wild Rift in both the men's and the women's division. So like, it's opportunities like this that are giving these teams the chance to go and play it out, to maybe get a slot into that. I know the selection start early, so of course we already have some like confirmed slots, but maybe somewhere down the line they're like, hey, this player is really good, we played against them, they showed us that they were really able to understand what needed to be done, and then from there they're like, oh, maybe we can get them as a sub, maybe we can get them in for a couple of games. So many speculative theories, but I like to say that this is an opportunity, a platform for these players to be discovered and to be given the opportunity to keep going further and on.
Yep, of course. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, hopping into the draft right now. Excited to see this. What NSL will be drafting this time around. Granted, you mentioned earlier just now, both of these two teams share similar champion pools, and look at that. The bands Olaf, Jax, Camille, and of course Ari, Yasuo, and Jace. Seems like NSL has been doing their homework, but Morgana getting locked in by GGTY.
So to get the first pick with the Morgana, so I'm thinking maybe NSL can trade that back with a Ziggs. Something like that could work pretty decently. I haven't seen very much Soraka, so I'm not sure how that one would play out for Rainbow or anything. And there we go, Ziggs I think fits really well. I mean, we think about why that would be the case, right? It's pretty... I think there are like a number of reasons. First off, it's very easy to break the Black Shield, and I think that alone is what really worthwhile. And we mentioned before, it's the ability to clear out waves from a distance, and ways that you're not even in the lane for. So you can clear out like bot lane, top lane, whatever other lane with just your ultimate, and once you get that Luna's Echo, it's basically like a confirmed clear out.
Yep, and now locking in from the side of NSL, the set as well, going into, well, technically we saw in game number 3 of GGTY, they brought the set to the jungle to great success, and now set could also go to the Baron lane, and now GGTY locking in the Senna and the Corki. Still not a lot of information being given out as of yet. These three, very flexible, but very squishy at the same time.
Yeah, still holding out like a little bit on what they want to try and get done. We still see options like the Garen available, which could be nice for the competition that they're working with, because it gives them some tankiness. You really don't want to give that away to NSL, I think, because they get incredibly tanky with this set Garen combo. It's like they're reading my mind. NSL ban away to Garen, a great option for them. Like we mentioned, if you don't want to end up playing that for yourself, you don't want to give that away, then you might as well ban that out so that you get to play some better options.
Yeah, NSL, not only just reading your mind though, I think it's just sharing the homework, I would say. Garen was basically the winning condition coming out from the side of GGTY in game number 2 and game number 3 against their rival, but now getting banned away, it's so good, right? GGTY bans away the Jarvan, and now the Darius gets taken away. The Baron laners pool gets limited for the side of GGTY. What else is there left?
I mean, we still have all reliable. Renekton, I think, for one, is something that can still be played. Into the set matchup, I think the Renekton still does decently well. Maybe NSL want to play it for themselves. The Camille being taken away is a pretty important one. But there's few things that mind. Because you went for the Ziggs and the Diana, Diana maybe could go in the jungle, but probably into the mid lane. At this point, it takes away some of the value from something like the Lulu, so you won't really be able to get the, like that hyper carry kind of effect. So maybe you want to try and play for something with a little bit more impact, scaling in the jungle or something. I say Lulu, they play Lulu. I say it's not that good though, but okay, sure. I mean, they can prove me wrong.
Yeah, Brandon, you might want to take a look behind you. Not too sure whether NSL was actually looking at your homework. It feels like you said Lulu came out. You're basically just predicting all these picks though. But yeah, Lulu going into this, they need someone that really has this hyper carry. And even if they draft, I don't know, like a Zaya or something like, or even a Kai'Sa like this into this, now NSL feels like they don't really have the tankiness in mind.
Riven, I think, is maybe not the best option going into this one because you just saw the Lulu pickup. I think the Lulu does really well blocking the Riven initially from getting that engage going, so it might be difficult for them to really get that much done. If they end up playing for the Mumu, I think that could work out for them if they want to really set up and combo with their spells, but it puts a lot of the emphasis on the Ziggs being able to do damage, as well as Diana, but it also kind of funnels that kind of the damage type into magic, right? So you have physical damage, magic damage. If you only have magic damage, it's very easy to itemize against you. So maybe you might want to consider something differently. I think the Fiora is a pretty good pickup. Now we have something that does work in that hyper carry space, and you get the Lulu to boost that one up.
Yeah, providing additional attack speed for the Fiora to really shred through, hopefully, the Renekton and the Riven, and also finding the pickup on the Corki. There's a lot of outplay potential with the Repose whenever the Morgana goes into the ultimate, and even the Renekton as well. So top lane become like the skill-based matchup. Renekton needs to try to snowball as quickly as possible, whereas Fiora, the very favorite in terms of this 1v1 duel, but looking at the summoner spells right now, it feels like NS13 will be bringing the Fiora into the jungle against the Riven, whereas Set going against the Renekton. It feels like they're bringing the Baron lane-ish into the jungle in a sense, because Riven technically plays in the Baron lane as well, so I think that's really hilarious.
Yeah, it's that flexibility, the flex space being able to go into like multiple roles. I'm just thinking like how Graves Riven does as a matchup in the jungle. I think that the Graves can do okay against Riven, so it might just be like a preference thing. I think Graves could have fit in into composition a little bit better because it is going to be range, gives him a little bit of tanky, like some additional tankiness. Can split push to some degree as well. But I guess with the Fiora, that does indicate a specific playstyle that NSL might want to try and play for.
Yes, and of course, onto the loading screen and onto the Rift. Very, very soon we go. A very interesting matchup coming up from both of these two teams. A little bit of a, well, ladies' handshake, I would say. Not so much of a gentleman's handshake this time round. GGTY in the blue, going in with the scaling center and the bottom lane, Morgana this time around, whereas from the side of NSL, hailing all the way from Singapore, and of course GGTY hailing all the way from the Philippines. NSL with the Ziggs hopefully could secure this game number 1 of the grand finals.
And to start things off, we get to see something interesting. I think that with the Morgana starting with the Amplifying Tome, it could be an indication that they're trying to play for fasting Senna, and they get the Morgana the golden EXP. So this could be quite nice if this means that the Senna is going to be able to just scale up with the souls faster, and then Morgana gets like the additional gold to start wave clearing. But then again, with Force of Life, right? With Force of with that Keystone, I think the Morgana actually changes her playstyle a little bit, so might not be able to go to full damage. I think I just have to wait and see what's going to happen here. I think with the gold lead that Morgana's building now, it's already kind of looking that way,
And then you get to see, because does have the Tormentor Soul. It feels like Dan is actually picking out all these last hits though. Should be going into the fasting center at the bottom side. However, NSL, I think with the Lulu and the Ziggs, doesn't really, technically speaking, does help a little bit. The attack speed doesn't really, Ziggs doesn't get a lot of benefits from the attack speed. So I think NSL should be looking towards the mid part of the game where, when they start having those 5v5 clashes, that's where, the Lulu will get his money's worth.
Yeah, so, okay, I actually think NS10 might be able to take down Jones here. The Ignite is going to do a good amount of work. One more take? Yeah, couldn't get it though. So that is supposed to grab the gold here. It's supposed to grab the last hits because of the way that Senna passive works. If you don't last hit the creep, you end up getting closer towards the you get more increased odds. Oh man.
Man, 3 million year of binding then will be able to help and GGTY to secure NS19 Diana, the first victim from the side of NSL this time round. Rainbow almost going down though, will be able to survive for this fight. Now this Corki should be able to scale, and of course with the range advantage in the mid lane, this Diana has to play a little bit more passive, going even into the ROA.
Yeah, so with that, that's also why NS13 has been going to the mid lane to try and clear out the waves so that they're able to get the pushback against the Corki, so Corki isn't able to just keep crashing the minion waves in and then deny golden EXP away from Diana potentially, and maybe even threaten to die with the Riven. And then another good thing is the Senna has been rotating over, right? So Doi has been going to the mid lane, has been grabbing some of the extra miss from Rainbow. And so the way that her passive works is that when she doesn't last hit, increases the odds of the miss dropping from minion creep, which is why Dead is taking the last hits, and that's what fasting Senna is about. So by not taking that, you're supposed to run on low economy, but in the meantime, you also end up getting more miss, and so that helps with your scaling later on.
Yeah, a very low economy, like all reliables going in from the side of GGTY, and now we can see a bit of a gank coming out from Rogue. The flash will be used, the NS10 will be sending two of these champions right into their faces, stunning him down, slowing down. We'll be able to survive for this time.
Survives this time around, but no flash on neither NS10 or Rogue at this point. Could make things difficult, right? Because the set ideally wants to be able to jump in and initiate and kind of assist and pull attention away from the Fiora so that NS13 can find the maximum amount of value at any given point of time. Whereas with Rogue, being a good team fighting champion, generally with all the spells that she has, that flash is also quite an impactful one. So it's kind of difficult, I think, to say who really came up a hit in this position. Of what we know for sure is that NS10 is going to become a vulnerability in the side lane.
Yeah, NS10 will become a vulnerability, especially, you know, this Renekton has been doing a very good job to basically suppress this set from being super crazy, and now with these neutral objectives being spawned as well, it's up to both of these two teams to take. Doi will be able to dish out some damage, but the binding coming in for the side of it, on top, landing on top of NS11, and now GGTY will try to look to collapse on top with a nice nice pick coming out from GGTY, pushing the Lulu back to base for now.
Get the Senna Lulu back, and it's also important to note that no ultimate on the Lulu means coming back here, she won't have that EXP. They're gonna miss the opportunity to get a good fight. Den is already level 7 because she's been picking up the EXP instead.
Instead, it is going to be ultimately landing down by the side of the Senna as well, providing some shields, and that could be that wasn't enough though to basically land the Faber all the way back. 1 pixel versus 1 pixel, and it could be anyone's game. NS10 was the one who actually get out alive, and now NS11 taking a little bit more damage. That binding would not be able to connect though, but look at all these close calls coming out from both these two teams.
I think what happened there towards the bottom side was that Rainbow came in with the package and so was able to get a better position. I mean, look at the vision line right now. GGTY have done such an amazing job of getting control around the river, whereas NSL has had to overextend and really break their max to get some information into the brushes to detect when Jones is going to be stepping forward, so they get some information towards the Rift Town. They know they're going to start this one up. Curious if this is going to mean that they're going to fight for this. The only ultimates left up right now are Rogue's ultimate with the Riven, which is a really nice execute, and the Wild Growth from NS11.
Yep, Wild Growth. And now they will be able to clash on top of this. NSL don't want GGTY to get their grubby paws on top of this Rift Herald. They want to secure it for themselves. Looking a little bit low. It is going to be still NSL. Technically, I would say it's a steal. Stow the Rift Herald away from GGTY.
They take that one away, and they get to also move towards the Dragon here, I think, because now you get the opportunity to use the Rift Herald in the mid lane and then go towards the Dragon. So you make them have to respond to either threat, especially if you can kill off the center here. Doi is stepping up pretty far forward. The Morgana is necessary to keep them safe, but because of that, Morgana isn't going to be able to reposition for the Dragon time.
Yeah, I love the fact that NSL did not plonk down the Rift Herald because they know the Morgana should be able to wave clear the minions very quickly, so they're not going to waste that Rift Herald. They're going to save it for another rainy day, and now NSL will start out the Dragon. In the meantime, top side though, this set is not having a good time. Gets them taken down, but then NSL will trade for the Infernal Drake.
They have to try and use the Rift Herald to the bot side now, because otherwise it's going to be mean first turret in the top lane. They have two members pushing out both the Senna and the Riven. Both of them have a lot of damage when trying to take down these turrets. I think the Rift Herald will be the difference maker though. I'm going to pick this one up first.
Ooh. Yep, very nice pickup coming out from the side of NSL. GGTY don't really have the Rift Herald. May find themselves a little bit slow to push it all the way down. economically, I think even though GGTY seems still ahead, NSL did secure the Drake after all.
They get the that dragon is actually to make up for a lot of the gold, especially if they maintain this small of a gold gap later down the line as well, right? This gold difference is going to mean less and less as they go deeper into the game. I think what really does matter though is the fact that they are quite a bit behind in EXP, specifically with Goy, because of the nature of the way that the fasting center is going to end up playing out. NS11 has had a difficult time trying to maintain that EXP. Yeah, while NS10 will once again get collapsed on, this time by all 5 members. They never give her a break. She's going to have to fight for her life. She goes down, but this mid lane is looking juicy.
Yeah, this mid lane is definitely looking juicy overall. It feels like at this time, NS10 has become bait for the side of GGTY. NSL probably identifies this, will crack open the mid lane turret of the side of GGTY. This means a lot of space that NSL will be able to roam around, but now GGTY is going to continue this breakthrough at the bottom side. They have the tempo, and now this is absolutely free for the side of GGTY.
You get the turret, I wouldn't say it's exactly free. They end up putting 2 turrets for that, so it depends on how you value. Is it worth an outer and an inner tier turret in a side lane versus an outer tier turret in the mid lane? I'd say maybe not so much, right? Because of how the nature of your champions are. And the playstyle you're maybe trying to go for, you know, the Fiora really wants that free space so they can rotate around, apply pressure across the map, whereas you'll get the extra benefit of shutting down the set more, so the set becomes less and less of a threat in the side lane specifically. But I think, you know, it doesn't matter so much, because at any point, your NS10 really only has to do the bare minimum damage to a wave, and the rest of it can be cleared by IRP anyway, so it's quite easy for them to use these 2 things in conjunction to just make sure that NS10 is relatively safe, unless they commit 5 people to dive her every single time.
Yeah, it feels like, you know, GGTY literally painted a target on NS10's back. Whenever NS10 appears on the map, especially with, you know, look at the vision coming out from GGTY, they're just gonna hammer on top of her, just make sure that this set doesn't scale. But if you do that, you allow NSL so much free real estate to roam around to do whatever they want, right? Because you're gonna have to commit 5 members on top of that. But as the time goes on by, this fasting center start to pick up these crucial items. The Black Cleaver going in as well, and all these key items coming in. And now looking at the state of the map, package being picked up by Rainbow, they're looking at this Rift Herald once again.
What I do really like here is the fact that NS19 has already managed to pick up her Crystalline Reflector, so she's going to take a lot less damage from a couple of the big threats, right? So from Rogue and from Joe especially.
Ooh, big damage coming in, big bombs activated. No, you already used. Looking at the Rift Herald, going to go into the favor of GGTY though. NSL tried to punish it for it, but it's still going to be the backline for the side of the set. Will not be able to live a little bit longer. Try to take it down, looking very slow, looking to play a lot of clutch games, but it is still going to be a Rift Herald secured by GGTY, and now NSL, they committed 3 members on top of that. Not a very good trade.
Yeah, not the best situation there. You know, I kind of said like, oh yeah, she's gonna have to take a little bit less damage, but you play into the package timing. It's quite unfortunate, right? You generally don't want to end up doing that, especially because I feel like you probably could defend against the Rift Herald, right? So even if the Rift Herald ends up being proc and trying to be used, you know what does end up going decently for them at the very least, because package was used there. That means that GTY don't get a free dragon as well, right? Because if they if they gave away the Rift Herald too quickly, then GTY get to rotate for the dragon. They get to play for that right away. So all in all, it's not the worst loss for them. Ideally, they would have had better damage mitigation, but still playable for sure for this.
Yeah, look at how quick NSL really wants to take on this Rift Herald. GGTY, they really want to use this to try to create some space for them, make sure that NSL doesn't really set up camp at the Mountain Drake. In fact, GGTY will go all the way in, big bomb spreading all the damage, and now NSL will be able to push GGTY away from the Drake. It is going to be the Riven leading on the charge, as the Drake will be helping both of these 2 teams. So much damage from the side of the Rainbow, shredding the members of NSL. Don't forget, it is going to be the tainted soil, whatever that comes out from Morgana. So much damage in GGTY's kit, and they overwhelm NSL with love.
Oh my goodness, so clutch down to the very wire GGTY. I mean, look at the things that happened there, right? The only thing that could have possibly changed that was if IV had not gone binded at that point. every other spell was used to utmost efficiency. 5-man Moonfall ultimate. You get the Fiora diving in, but it's so tough. NS13, I don't blame her for this, right? Having to try and pop all your vitals while in between 5 enemy members, it's so difficult to try and pilot. So GGTY do very well in identifying that. They get 2 back-to-back fights that will now bring them 4,000 gold ahead. And this is only going to keep compounding more while they still have the Senna scaling, while they have the Corki scaling. You know, Riven is still going to be a very strong teamfight menace later down the line.
Yeah, so everything feels like it's going well for the mid lane. NSL, even though yes, they secured the Infernal Drake, they do know how to play around all these objectives. And well, especially in the early part of the game, feels like GGTY is slowly gaining ground in terms of this particular map. And now, especially with the bottom lane for the side of NSL so clear out for the side of GGTY, NSL has to commit to manpower to constantly go and just try to clear the bottom side. Yes, we mentioned about Ziggs should be able to clear it very quickly with the ultimate, but that is one less ultimate that I feel NSL needs more damage, so that bomb could have been better used for the team fight as compared to the wave clear.
Dragon, Baron's now spawning up. Looking at what it's gonna be, it's gonna be an Elder Ocean Drake later down the line too. So for both these two teams, could be nice to have, but probably wouldn't be as impactful. They should jump on the NS13 right away.
Oh, this is another problem. It feels like an Ari problem. As long as you land down the charm, as long as you land on the Dark Binding with the Morgana, that's one person from the side of NSL dead. Just so unfortunate, Riposte wasn't able to cop up in time.
And another big issue is because the execution calling done, completed by Doi, a lot of the healing from NS13 is going to be cut, and it's very difficult for her to actually, even after proccing her vitals, getting the Grand Challenge down to actually get much value out of it.
Yep, in fact, NS19 will force to use the ultimate Ghost into Golden to wait for the members of NSL to come on in. Lulu will be on top of the Wild Growth, try to peel against GGTY, but there's so much damage from the side of their team. Just this Crocodile going on rampage, picking up NSL one by one.
And it was an attempt to save the turret, so NS19 will go down for it. They actually brings down NS11 with her. I'm trying to recall, I think we had a suggestion from one of the viewers in the chat that they call them by their train station names. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if everyone will get that reference, so I'm going to hold off on that. But you know what? It's still interesting to think about, so maybe somewhere down the line I might give that a try. But brings down NS11 with her. So, you know, losing both the Lulu and the Diana there while trying to save the turret, they may at least take back against the Senna. I mean, it's small wins, I guess. But now with the gold lead changing back into GGTY's favor and the gold is continuing to snowball, there are a few things that could be done by NSL here, I think. They really have to just work on maintaining the line where it currently stands. So you see where the minion waves are right around the river. So if they are in that kind of neutral position, when the enemy team starts pushing in, which is GGTY starts pushing in, they need to clear it out. Then that's where they can continue to pressure around the Baron and things like that. If it extends too far, of course, it's going to be pretty dangerous for you to. If it extends too far, it's going to be pretty dangerous for you to go and walk into your own jungle and stuff because you're going to get caught out without that vision there. But if it goes too near, then, you know, we start to see the siege come through from GGTY. Baron becomes a very real threat. So it's this constant awareness of, like, this fine balance to stall it out until they get strong enough.
Yeah, NSL, but stalling the game, at least it works very well for NSL's side, but you can see how Den is trying to constantly land on the Dark Binding. Anytime this Dark Binding actually finds his mark, like right now, in fact, landing on top of the poor little Ziggs, will get sniped all the way down. The Crocodile coming in for the flank, and now the Grand Challenge will be issued. It's going to be a big Fiora, dishing out the damage that's required though, but the Dark Binding once again saves GGTY's lives.
Will stop them from continuing on, and with the Fiora being able to take down at least the Riven in these positions, you know, it's very heartening to see for NSL. They get to know that if we end up in a side lane, 1 versus 1, Fiora versus Riven or Fiora versus Renekton, the Fiora will win. That's the information, that's the insight they have gleaned from these moments, and so now they just really have to play to that knowledge. Damage back over onto Dirty. If they're able to kill her off fast, it'd be nice here.
Yeah, but unfortunately they would not be able. The consolation prize is the Cloud Drake, but at least this allows, you know, the likes of the Fiora and also and the set to try to walk around the map even faster. But here's the thing, right, Brandon? GGTY is looking to scale uncontrollably already. In fact, they've already scaled. You know, the Senna has already farmed up, already participating in those fights as well. The Renekton has been rampaging all across the board. NSL though, I think they may have to switch gears a little bit. They have to slow down to hold down until and wait for the Ziggs to scale. But would that be enough time?
Yeah, time is always going to be that question, right? Whether or not there's going to be enough of it is a really big one. They actually get a bit of information into the Baron pit, so they know that this is going to be done. The package is used, they're playing into the pit.
Oh, the Baron still getting torn apart by GGTY, and now NSL will try to collapse on top of some people, but will not be able to find down the goals. We'll be able to find Den. It's looking a bit low as well. We'll finally get taken down by the Bobs, giving the shutdown goal, but GGTY will walk away with the Baron buff on 4 members.
They were only able to finish off Den in that entire fight. Rogue was so low, but an incredible combo to dash away, flash away from NS13, who had the Grand Challenge executed onto her. So Rogue surviving there changes the fight a lot, because if that Grand Challenge went down, there's so much more NSL gains from being in that position. They heal up, they get, and honestly, it's the morale boost as well, knowing that you're playing within that healing AoE zone, just makes them feel a lot safer in taking that exchange. So GGTY continue on now with 4 Baron buffs, very effective against the Ziggs, who's going to have a tough time trying to figure it out.
Yeah, you get to see, like, you know, NSL in fact already evolved. Ziggs already evolved the item already, so it should be doing a little more damage, more spammy, small bombs in the face of GGTY. But GGTY, they do have the Baron buff. At least NSL could try to clear very quickly with the bombs from afar, but it's going to be NS10 smashing John easy all the way in, but will get rooted. These roots coming up from GGTY has been clutch to stall down NSL.
GGTY will finally get to break open the mid lane turret after being denied that opportunity by the Ziggs for a long time. IMP just has to focus on and trying to make sure that the inhibitor turrets can stay up. It's going to be a difficult task, especially as it's at to crash in multiple cannon waves.
Yep. Now, you know, GGTY splitting top and bottom. Hopefully these splits has been very good. Grand Challenge has been issued once again on top of Zone E. Easy, but nothing could be done for the side of NSL. Same could be said with GGTY. They still do have the Baron buff that is a little bit annoying for the side of NSL. Desperately trying to clear the waves as quickly as possible. At least GGTY shoved the wave right into NSL's faces, and now they're playing on pure defense.
And I think defense is a very reasonable position for them to be playing from. You know, they don't have to be that concerned about going forward aggressively. They can just chill out, wait until they have the opportunity again. You know, before starting to make that big push, trying to pick up the big objectives, because you still have this dragon coming up pretty soon. It would be nice for NSL to grab this. You know, they already have 2 drakes. Amplifying the effects further is just going to make things easier for them.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like NSL really want to secure the bottom side. 30 seconds on that clock for that neutral objective. And GGTY though, no package being picked up by the side of GGTY. I think Rainbow could have used the package, which is very readily available. But GGTY should be able to set up camp even faster as compared to NSL. So it's up to NSL to try to break it all the way in. 5 men stacking on top of each other is NSL looking to hunt, looking to catch someone off. But they don't have the vision.
Response to play from the initiation, engage onto the set.
Engaging on the set, gets rooted once again. So much root, so much stun coming out. Rogue will be able to finish it off, but it's going to be the burn coming out from the Morgana that finishes off. And now NSL will walk into the Dragon Pit if they really want to with a manpower deficit. GGTY could take this Ocean Drake right now, but NSL looking at how they're going to path, they're looking how they want to play. Rogue once again focusing on top, will be able to catch the stun. The center ultimate goes on the way in. John Easy dashing and slicing and crushing NSL drop all the way down as GGTY, well, they don't need to chase. They already secured the Elder Ocean Dragon technically 5 seconds ago.
And a good pickup for GGTY, who were able to split up the fight incredibly well. NS19 with a valiant effort to try and zone out the backline away from NSL, so they get some space to play against them. Unfortunately for them, the Renekton is too strong at this point. Even with the Fiora damage, it took too long to take down the Renekton, and at the end, didn't manage to actually kill him. So she survives, Joan comes back, NS13 unfortunately will not be able to scale up to the point that she wants to be at. Renekton already level 15, Fiora still level 14, trying to chase after.
Yeah, and NSL, you know, losing the Baron buff over to GGTY as well. Yes, they lost not only just the Drake, they also lost the Baron. It's going to hurt NSL tremendously, in my opinion. GGTY, if you noticed, that Corky earlier just now didn't even pick up a package. Now picking out a package. Feels like GGTY wants to send the payload all the way to the mid lane with the Baron buff as well to actually ensure this win. NSL desperately trying to clear the wave. Desperation is the name of the game coming in from NSL.
NSL just want to try and keep things going as long as they can, hoping that they might be able to overcome this goal difference some way, somehow. But calculating it all, in the main bulk of that gold that they need to get it on is the Fiora. Fiora just hasn't been able to scale up to the point that they want to be on. NS19, I think, has been doing a good job of trying to execute on some of these plays. Unfortunately for them, the goal difference is just too big now. A lot of the enemy teams have stats that aren't easily going to be overcome. Scaling up stronger. Doi is at a really good point, 22 minutes in the game.
Yep, it's really hard. GGTY breaks open the mid lane and now they'll follow suit. Top side, bottom side, it is pandemonium happening on the side of NSL base. Super white, clean, and now GGTY will walk and stamp all across the living room of NSL. The Nexus looking very, very juicy, and now the members of GGTY just gonna focus fire on that and finally giving game number 1.
And you say to GGTI walk into the living room, they walk in the living room with their shoes on. NSL have shoe marks all over the living room floor now, right? They need to clean it up, they need to mop it up. They need some time to figure out what needs to be done, right? Look at what's happening here. The goal difference is pretty significant, especially because the one that you wanted most on, your Fiora, needed to be on par with the rest of the enemy team. Drones, Rogue, Rainbow all have more gold than her. Even then, by playing that fasting center bot lane is at 15,000. That is comparable with the Diana, right? Whereas the Lulu is significantly further behind. So understanding this, I think they might have to go and change this up a little bit. I think it is ultimately down to preference. They did a pretty decent job in the mid game, but there were some pretty critical points that when they got outskilled, just started to spell disaster for NSL.
Yeah, you talk about outscaled. I see the Senna that literally has almost the same gold as the Fiora, which is basically the richest player in the side of NSL, and you telling me GGTY has scaled? Yes, they have scaled even harder, and NSL just allowed the Senna to scale all the way to the late game. We talked about this during the game where we're worried about if NSL were to buy time, this Senna is going to scale uncontrollably and infinitely. And of course, another point to take note is there's so many stuns and roots coming out from the side of GGTY. There's Den with the Dark Binding. There's always the Senna with the stun root as well. There's also the stun from Rogue. There's also the stun, 3 million stun coming out from the Renekton. If GGTY were to focus fire on any one of NSL, it's so difficult to basically crack open. We mentioned about this Fiora. Yes, she was able to duel with the Lulu, ultimate as well to try to fight it off. But if you stun this Fiora at her tracks, she wasn't able to pop off these vital points, and therefore the grand challenge doesn't seem like a challenge anymore.
Yeah, I think that's basically coming down to how their base kits work. So ultimately there's so much value that the Morgana is going to see, even if you're behind without many items. The binding is always going to be effective, the Dark Shield's always going to be effective, Soul Shackle is the same way. So just so much absolute value from the Morgana, as opposed to some of the other things that require a lot more resource management on the side of NSL.
Yeah, and with that said, it's just a very tough fight for NSL, right? GGTY slams game number 1 against NSL in the grand final. But don't worry, this is a best of 5, ladies and gentlemen. There's plenty of opportunities for NSL to basically, clean up the living room just a little bit. Make sure that GGTY takes off their shoes before stepping into their own base. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, don't go away. Go into a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the FSL Wild Rift Open. This is game number 2 of the grand finals. My name is Jay. Joining me right here is Gaminism, and we are your casters for today, and of course yesterday as well. And wow, GGTY, took it by the storm in game number 1 up against NSL.
Yeah, NSL, unfortunately, were not able to take that first round win, but they definitely showed us some interesting ideas. The fact that they were willing to play for that hyper carry jungler and then try and play that into the late game did a decent amount of damage, but at that point, the scaling was too out of control. I think the Renekton was too difficult for them to try and deal with. They were still able to take down Rogue on the Riven on a number of occasions. But it's always these like small little moments where like they narrowly escape that you kind of lose like the advantage tempo that you were supposed to get. So hopefully going into the second one, small adaptations, small adjustments for NSL. Otherwise, I felt like they drafted pretty decently. I think both teams drafted really well, especially understanding what they want to try and get done. So it's really the execution that comes down into it.
Yeah, so it's all about. It feels like, yeah, it's like what you said, right? Both these two teams, they know how to draft, which is kind of interesting. They have their own unique ideas on how they want to win. Yeah, we have to take a look at the execution, right? Make it feel like, in the draft, yes, it's equally important right now, but we gotta have to take a look at how they execute, because GGTY, the execution has been really, really clean. There's a lot of times where GGTY is managed to escape with like a single pixel of health, and then all these small little errors stack up against NSL, because NSL wasn't able to allow the Fiora to scale, allow this Fiora to go ahead and kill. And in my opinion, it just boils down to the fact that GGTY in game number 1, there's way too many stuns, way too many routes for this Fiora to just dodge around.
Yeah, the repulse only really stops the one, right? Unless they stack multiple at a time. So you have to time it out really well, and then after that, it's about getting into the fights and dealing with that response directly from there. So looking forward to see if they want to keep continuing on with that, or they're going to change that up as we jump into the next picks and bans. They actually go for the Jace right away. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, NSL first pick this time round. A lot of targeted bans. These are the champions that GGTY has shown. The Ari, the Senna, the Morgana, and thus, GGTY responds with the Camille, Jax, and Olaf's more common suspects coming up on GGTY's side of the bans. But NSL secures the Jace, whereas GGTY will take the set and Corki away.
They get Set and Corki a really strong dual combo right now. Ziggs is still left open, so they could go for something like that again. But I think with the Jace, it kind of represents something. It kind of shows a different hand here. So I don't think that Jace necessarily is going to be the best option for them. Yeah, something like the Garen could do really well, right? And then now we're looking to see if they want to continue with what we saw last game with NS19 trying to pilot that Diana. I think Diana could do decently with the compositions that they may try and go for. I think, but with the Jace, probably going to go into the mid lane. Might go against the Corki. There's a lot of flexibility still here. We don't necessarily have to say like, okay, one definitive answer across the board.
Yeah, I really like the flexibility that NSL has shown. Like I said, the draft, not only just in terms of... I feel like they've scored like full points in my books in terms of drafting, right? So much flexibility. You can bring the Jace to the jungle. We've seen that before. The Garen, technically speaking, if you're really feeling a little bit frisky, you could go all the way down to the bottom side as a support Garen and still do quite an insane amount of damage. But GGTY, though, showing the hand a little bit. This Lee Sin going into the jungle set could be going into... Technically, still could go into a Baron lane. Well, like I said, if you're feeling frisky, could go into the mid as well.
Yeah, a couple of options available still. It's interesting that GGTY has opted to ban away the Lulu, because I didn't feel like Lulu was a big necessary problem for them. And additionally, I don't see many options that they can pair the Lulu kind of with. I felt like that was one of the maybe potential issues why Ziggs wasn't able to get as much done, because the Lulu paired together with the Ziggs doesn't really do that much. Ziggs is basically in it's doing its own game, right? Playing its own style, doing its own thing. So IIP was kind of pretty much left to be self-sufficient. It's a very different position from what maybe they could have wanted to try and go for. So this time around, now that that option has already been banned away, they could continue this trend by going for something with like strong engage, something like the Rakan, so you try and bump in, jump up. Yumi not available yet, I believe. So Yumi Garen is not a combo that they get to run. That is going to, I think, is going to end up dominating the meta in a couple of patches. So let's see how that one plays out. For now, though, yeah, Rakan could be an option. Maybe something like the Braum? Janna, maybe.
I personally feel if I were GTY, the Braum looks very nice, right? You get to delete projectiles coming out from the Ziggs, coming out from the Jace, especially when you try the long range poke. But there's a lot of artillery strikes coming out from the side of NSL, right? Got the Ziggs and the Jace as well. But GGTY picking up the Thresh this time round. I think it's the first time I'm seeing a Thresh in this particular tournament with the hook trying to pick people off, especially when they're constantly trying to toss bombs at you. I think the Thresh will be very interesting going up against NSL.
Okay, so they do end up going for the Rakan. I think that is a pretty reasonable option after the Thresh. So I feel like the big three options that are still left available are going to be that Braum, Rakan, and Janna. I think Janna just wouldn't be that great of a matchup against the Thresh anyway. We saw how that kind of worked out. And then they go back for the They go back for the auction. Honestly, I like to see it. You know, it's slightly different from what we've generally been seeing so far. It does mean that the main bulk of the AP damage is going to be the Ziggs, but they have a lot of damage. Very strong champions overall. But this means that we're looking at a direct confrontations. Whoever plays out the fights better, that's likely going to win it.
Yeah, and at the very least, NSL, I feel like with the range advantage, right, they should be able to whittle down GGTY from that. But with that said, though, oh my goodness, it feels like almost the same game once again coming out from GGTY, constantly stun, landing on stuns on the stuns coming out from from GGTY from the Twisted Fate. It's similar playstyle with Morgana, just constantly land on stuns, and NSL will be slightly holding the tracks, and just in case anything happens, the wild cards with this tremendous range, I can poke you back just in case if anything happens. But yeah, the Corki feels like a little bit of a shorter range in my opinion, the Gatling gun, but relies on top of the Garen to try to just zero in them, and that's where Corki gets a money shot. But overall, in terms of the draft wise, I would still prefer GGTY because yeah, bias on that Twisted Fate. I love that Twisted Fate too much.
Twisted Fate or Akali, you get your two favorite picks. Well, and they banned away the Akali, so they did the next best thing, which is to pick up Twisted Fate, right? With that though, you know, there is a little bit of a risk for the outshot because the Destiny gives so much information away, and so NS19 has to be very aware of the fact that if she's going to rotate, it has to be quite decisive and quite quick. So might have to bring in Jace with the jungle to try and get something done early on as well, because otherwise, once Destiny comes in, to get information on where the outshot is, you could either play away from her or take the fight over to them. So a number of things that need to be done here in this case. Let's see how they want to get this done.
Yep, let's take a look at the execution this time around. We've commended on the drafts. They know how to draft. They know how to play the game on paper. But now it is time to get their feet wet. Well, technically their fingers wet because we were playing the game with your fingers, not your feet. But we are going to game number 2, ladies and gentlemen. NSL has a lot more to prove for us against GGTY. GGTY with the momentum, with the tempo they've secured, fighting against one of the rivals. I think that confidence boost eked into game number 1, allowing them to take game number 1 away from NSL. Whereas NSL though, they have to play it carefully.
I tell you what though, nobody's ever said that you can't play the game with your feet. So somewhere down the line, I'm sure someone could make that work. For now though, it's all going to be with hand gameplay. NS19 actually gets a pretty good trade and exchange across, and this is especially going to matter because it's an Ignite versus Exhaust matchup. So NS19 using the Ignite is going to be able to force Rainbow Ox. So Rainbow, unless she used the Exhaust right away once she saw that jump in, was destined to lose that exchange. And so she needs to go and pick up the Sustain early on so that the Lee Sin has to come over. And then Rogue is now going to have to try and match that tempo. So try and come in and gank the Akshan. But look at where the junglers are starting, right? Jace clears out the bottom side, grabs the Raptors, does not clear the bottom Croc Cap as well. So that means they're likely not going to be moving down to the bottom side. You know, so instead going for a 4-camp clear, pick up the blue buff, and you can check your options from there. Jace is more than content to just keep farming up and pick up the gold EXP required to become stronger, whereas with Rogue, there's a bit more agency, right? You want to get more done as that Lee Sin. You want to gank a lane, you want to pick up the Skull Crabs, you want information. So she's actually going to end up going to prioritize with the Skull Crab. I think it's traded on both sides here. So the Lee Sin, I think, is a smaller window. I don't really see much on the map available for Rogue to really try and play for.
Yeah, I totally agree with you because GGTY has the bottom side completely pushed unless, you know, GGTY wants to get this very cheeky invade at turret dive, in fact, and the mid lane from the side of NSL, or, you know, GGTY will actually 3-man roam. Oh, wait, sorry, is that a emergency meeting being called at the bottom side?
Yeah,
at
there's
4-man
four
gank,
here, but there's no minion wave at all, so they dodge away from the initial spells. They can really outplay this.
Yeah, and now they're gonna just dive it all the way. It's a lot of sums being burned right off the bat, the flashes, whatever you call it, even from the side of NS11 as well. Both of them gone. I don't know what to feel. GGTY very greedy at the bottom side.
I don't think it's greedy. They just knew like their limits, and they played exactly what needed to be done. Because Ben dies, but it's an execute because she didn't even take damage from any of the players on the side of NSL, right? So she ends up getting the execute. She actually knew exactly what needed to be done. She took the turret damage to save her team from potentially losing multiple members there. Huge props over to them for actually identifying that and playing it right up to the very limits, which is actually gone for the rocket belt as well. So this is going to give them a pretty good opportunity to find the initial pickoff right before the fight starts, especially around this objectives. Broly's setting on top of one.
Man, yeah, I really have to agree. You can see the urgency going into Rogue, right? She needs to make some plays and she needs to find the plays. If not, the Jace will outscale tremendously in the later part of the game and try to scale the side lanes. Make sure that the Corki gets into this Gatling gun beast mode or even the set beast mode. But I feel like NSL was able to match up with the set pressure on the top side. Rogue not farming, just waiting in the brush, just waiting for anything to happen at all. I don't know, may cost GGTY the jungle pressure a little bit.
Yeah, that's a pound the rocket belt. Didn't quite work out there, but it still gives them a lot of space, and you see what happens now as they are looking to try and pick this one away, but a beautiful combo comes across. NS11 gets the initial engage off, and NS13 falls through with the hammer. The exhaust back down to the Rakan, but a dash from an NS19. A few more attacks will execute off the remaining members. A flying triple kill comes across for NSL.
You want to take a triple kill? They take it in style, in the air. And speaking about in the air, I wasn't expecting this Rakan to suddenly just collapse on top of it. Very nice follow-up coming out from NSL. And then what they do, they just rotate over to the Mountain Dragon. This is the early game start the NSL wants to look out for.
Exactly that, right? They get a fight, they get the conversion onto the Dragon, and now GGTY is trying to equalize by picking up the Rift Herald, but see what's happened here. NSL are gonna be able to start rotating over. A bunch of ultimates are available on GGTY's side, but they're not the same impact.
Yeah, not the same impact. In fact, GGTY will be able to use it, sending the Garen all the way into the other side of the fight, though. Would not be able to equalize that. It is going to be a Rift Herald secure. I'm not too sure because I was just looking at, Garen flying up in the air. But then again, it is going to be, oh my goodness, NSL stole it away from GGTY.
Yeah, big energy from NSL right now. This game,
yeah, man.
They are upset, they are mad, they are here to take everything away. NS19 is like, wow, my 5-man Diana ultimates weren't enough to win us last game. Fine, this time I'm going to play Akshan. I am going to carry through that instead. Well, it's working out so far for NSL, especially because now with 2 critical items completed, right? Let's take a look at where things are. First things first, you have the Blade of the Rune King done for the Akshan. That's a lot of damage, especially on the set early on, because now set with the Black Cleaver has a lot of HP, but that's just pure base HP. So instances like this, they can die very effectively. Set cannot survive against the damage of the Akshan, so they just have to give up the turret entirely.
Yeah, NSL, they're here, they're looking for blood. In fact, not even gonna actually force the Rift Herald to actually lose. And Rogue actually lost his life right there. The Haymaker, the shield coming out, but not tanky enough. The Akshan just melting people left, right, center, and it's gonna be very hard for GGTY. Knocked up in the air, is then once again deleted right across the map. And Akshan, my god, NS19 is flying around, picking off GGTY in style.
That was a beautiful job from NS11 to rotate over and get the charm onto Den, and then to some extent onto Doi, because Doi was then forced away. Unfortunately, they couldn't get the kill there. They did use that exhaust. Would have been nice too, but they do manage to get 2 turrets up in the top side. It's going to give them a lot of space to play from. They actually try to jump onto NS13. Akshan being here, I actually think they can win this one out, or at least like try and get them out to safety. Yeah, just NS13 use the flash.
Yeah, NS13 using the flash. I think NS13 was trying to back out, trying to recall all the way back to base, and GGTY, being rude, uninvited guests like game number 1 decide to interrupt their recall. But I mean, that's just PSA, guys. Make sure that you recall all the way back before actually opening up the shop menu.
Yes. Make sure to open up your stuff first before checking your shop menu. I do agree with that. There are many a times that people been caught unawares about that. But you can pre-buy, with Wild Rifts. You can just like set up your itemization beforehand when you spawn in, and then bam, buy the second you drop back into base. So let's take a quick stock check on where things are, because the next thing that's going to come up is that Infernal Drake, the Dragon, and the Rift Herald were killed pretty reasonably far apart, so there actually is going to be a bit of downtime before the next Rift Herald spawns. So in this time, only 1 objectives on the map. NSL definitely want to pick this up for themselves. They get a good amount of space off of this, but where it does matter is that GGTY, they have great pick potential. If they get into the position around the Dragon first, they can use the Thresh, poke them out, and use the Lee Sin, execute someone right off the bat. Unfortunately for them, you can see right now, GGTY have conceded control around that because they want to try and get the package first instead.
Yep, they want to take the package first, sending GGTY backing all the way off, but in the same time, NSL sneaks another turret right off GGTY's noses. NSL looking to set up base cam right there. Sorry, GGTY is setting a base cam right there, but NSL though, a little bit slower this time around. Dragon going to be spawning. Looking at the vision, feels like GGTY has been keeping up with their vision game. The whole river is literally lit up like Christmas trees. And it's up to whether, you know, GGTY wants to go to the Dragon Pit first.
You're right, there's a lot of vision there. But that vision's around the objective set hasn't spawned yet. It's spawning up now, and they are on the other side of. So NSL has given up position over the GGTY, so they get the dragon here instead. It's gonna be nice little pickup from GGTY. I'm curious if NSL can actually punish this at all. Or this is just them looking for the mid lane turret in this time.
Yep, spawning probably the Rift Herald very soon. I think, oh, it's already spawned this time round. In fact, it's gonna be GGTY collapsing on top of NSL. Not enough damage. They think that Inferno Drake should have enough damage. No, they have an Archon deck with the Blade of Rune King. Melts the net set all the way down, and Rogue flying from downtown will fly to its death as well, thinking he has enough damage. Finally, NS13 takes all the way. NS13 marching all the way in with a quadra kill. Oh my goodness, NSL, they found a momentum in this game.
She's mad. That Fiora game doesn't count. She's in here to play the quadra kill on the Jace. Some champions are easy to quadra than others. Some champions are easy to multi-kill than others. Jace, I would say, is not one of those. You can see the impact they had there, right? That all started with John ZZ trying to jump in and take out IMP's IMP in that position. Well, overextended, the Ziggs got caught out, had to flash, and even despite that, the set chased afterwards with ultimate. Where it does seem to be an issue though, was because the set tried to commit into that, the rest of the team felt like they had to go and assist. These, the Twisted Fate at this point does not have the range or the utility to really provide much for the team apart from some additional burst damage, which very frankly is not going to be the deciding factor in a lot of situations, I think. So I think they needed to wait that out. If that had happened 8 minutes from now, 10 minutes from now, very likely they could have capitalized massively and put themselves in a better position.
Yeah, and also another point to take note of, right, Grandon, the fact that GGTY, they do have Twisted Fate building into Lich Bane first item, not ROA in my opinion, going straight for the Rabadon, and then not even building the Proto Belt, which, you know, with the Proto Belt, you get extended range and you become the stun bot, but now they're trying to build the Twisted Fate into more damage, which they thought they need, but I feel like GGTY would benefit even more with the utility, but oh my goodness, Rogue! No!
She thought it was safe, she thought that she could take the buff, she just double tapped it, didn't think to go and see the fact that the enemy team was on her blue buff, taking it right under their noses. That's gonna cost them their jungler's life.
Yeah, look before you jump, right? Wait, no, look before you leap. GGTY did not actually, you know, follow the age-old saying, jumps into her death right there. That is actually not something that you want to give to NSL for absolutely free, and now NSL... Man, this is the game they're looking to basically try to win. This is game... It feels like, you know, game number 1 didn't really happen, and they're here to prove it.
We can't discount game number 1 still. We have to keep in mind, GGTY did take a very convincing win off of NSL. NSL played well, but despite that, GGTY demonstrated an understanding of how to play out the composition, how to scale up with a very strong draft. So now NSL are here to make their own statement piece. They say, well, you can have game 1, we're taking back game number 2. And this does kind of seem to show, they seem to say, you know, there is something about Blue Sign that helps out NSL because of the way that they like to draft. You know, they're going for some very strong picks, but maybe not necessarily what some might think to be the best in slot. Giving away the set and the Corki early on in exchange for the Jace could be bad for some teams, but because they're able to play the Jace and the Akshan in this way, you know, it kind of changes dynamic here.
Yeah, totally agree. I feel like the Akshan just gets... I think NSL gets their money's worth, right? Yes, we give away the OP, like I said, and Corki, but at least I got, you know, the Jace, right? But here we go, another fight happening, but the hook would not be able to land. I hear flashes all across the board just in case. I think Dan was the one who used it earlier just now, and now with the Rev Heralds spawning against NSL, gonna be marching towards the mid lane. GGTY needs to take the opportunity to try to sneak away the Cloud Drake. Mega Bomb to provide the scout initiating, and NS try to jump around, but no, not enough damage coming out from GGTY. NS 19 performing kills after kills, killing spree over to NSL already.
And what perfect timing! Baron spawns up in 5 more seconds. NSL get a 2-for-1 package. Not only do they get the dragon, now they get to waltz over to the Baron. Destiny used earlier on to reposition into the mid lane under the expectation that they might have been able to punish them somewhere else. Now NSL will have collected another piece to close out this match. They get to suffocate GGTY with their own Baron this time around.
Wow, so everything just suddenly went in line for the side of NSL. Rainbow, right, the only sole member, like what you said, no Destiny, no vision on the Baron buff, and impossible to steal, right? You can see how NSL, I think that timing was just so impeccable for them. Takes the dragon, walks away over to the Baron for free. Now GGTY, what is their play? Do they look to scale up this Twisted Fate? But it feels like the Lee Sin is starting to lose ground in terms of the priority already, because NSL, they've got better scaling champions.
There are a couple of like big things that GGTY will always have no matter how late the game goes. You know, just the fact that they always have that death sentence, always have that gold card. I don't think you have a gold card if your Twisted Fate is dead.
Yeah, you were mentioning about the gold card. I was like, looking at the Twisted Fate getting blown right up into the sky and blown up to pieces. And now GGTY, they're slowly starting to lose ground. They're starting to act a little bit confused, not too sure what to do anymore. This Lee Sin farming the jungle, whereas in the meantime, NSL just gonna stage a 2-prong attack. Akshan on the side, not my preferred, but will get shut down by the way. NS11 a little bit too late for the party, but at the very least NSL will be able to penetrate in the mid lane. GGTY fell for the bait of the Akshan, I would say. Now GGTY has an open base, getting chunked down a little bit low though. I feel like NSL, they really want to end this game. Just a few more, one more, they ended it. NSL equalizes the game score.
Beautiful sidestep, dodges away from the flay, walks back in, has that double tap with the quick charge, the triple shot on the Nexus. They close that one out, plus the 6 damage onto the Nexus turrets. You know how it is. 6 shreds through objectives really well. Multiple things went really well in this game. Different playstyle overall, right? We saw the Garen being played in our previous series, and that one did a lot of damage, was very aggressive, was crushed. This one different because now you have stuff like the Jace, like the Akshan, who can take on that role for themselves, you know. So, but they definitely performed exactly the expectations that we wanted to see. The Jace had a lot of impact in the jungle, not even in lane where you normally have that lane dominance. You also see a lot of pressure out from NS19 rotating over, being able to shred out the set and continuously dive them, you know, being able to move faster than Rainbow, who has a global ultimate. I think next game GGTY probably might want to run it back. The Ahri looked like an amazing fit for Rainbow. Maybe this is what you need to play if you want to match NS19.
Yeah, but GGTY though, their champion pool is getting banned out. NSL started the draft with a what? An Ahri ban, a Morgana ban, and I can't remember the other one. I feel like it's also another champion pool that GGTY plays. NSL has read GGTY like an open book, and they started the ban, and now they're forced onto their second degree, like not say second degree, but second level champions, which they tried to execute, but not to its best, right? Yes, they secured the set, they secured the core key, but Akshan focusing on the top side just makes it so hard for John Easy to scale. And I feel like NSL has finally found the answer. It's up to GGTY now to pose another question over to NSL. What kind of draft do I pick into this time? Because GGTY, I feel like this pick composition doesn't really work well.
It could work for sure, but the thing with like the pick composition is that you have to be wary of the counter engage from your opponents, and NSL are more than happy to run into you and take the fight to you. So GGTY definitely encountered some issues in that regard. So the Corki probably is going to see more play from GGTY. I don't doubt that, but maybe some things are going to have to change a little bit here. I think specifically for me, it's probably going to be that mid lane pick. I think if they had the Ahri to back it up, so instead of having that point and click gold card, you have that charm that's able to kind of perform in a similar fashion. But I think with more mobility, better range, it does a little bit better for Rainbow here.
Yeah, and also another thing to note that I feel GGTY, there's not a lot of tankiness in their team. Like NSL just shreds all the way through like butter. There's no one to basically, act like a gate stopper or showstopper. No pun intended, I think. But the point is, GGTY needs to go back to the blueprints. Gotta have to identify what went wrong in game number 2 because they did so well in game number 1. You said it yourself, Grandon. They won in a convincing fashion against NSL, and now NSL is back into the lead, equalizing the game score right now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a best of 5. There's 2 more games coming up if these 2 teams want to duke it out, because not only just, well, the prizes are just, something tangible that they could see. Well, there's also the experience that they could learn from each other, and in fact, this is cross-region. This is a Singaporean team going up against the Filipinos, who shall emerge victor in the FSL World Rift Open. Stay tuned for more, and we're going to a short break. Welcome back to FSL Wild Rift Open. This is the grand finals between these 2 teams from Philippines and Singapore. GGTY going up against NSL. Both NSL managed to equalize the score for now in game number 2, but we shall see whether they can actually continue on the momentum in game number 3, or GGTY will walk all over them in game number 3. My name is Jay. Join me right here is Gaminism as well, and this is of course brought to you by Intel and Yahoo.
Yeah, we saw a really impressive set coming through so far. I mean, it's only been 2 games, but we've seen drastically different play styles, compositions, and ultimately which team was able to win each game, right? So we just saw NSL take a really decisive one, especially because they've changed things up. Like I was mentioning to, I was alluding to earlier, the idea that they're willing to give away some of the more conventionally maybe stronger picks for things that can work very well against them, and also that they are able to pilot very well. So we saw some interesting ideas come through. I'm curious if this is going to mean a different playstyle from GTY again, as they change their playstyle for a 3rd time coming. We saw something different entirely in the semifinals match. The semifinals match was not played out in this way, so if they've adapted for NSL, I'm not sure if this is a sign for them to revert back, or they're just going to give it a try again.
Yeah, I feel like what you said, that GGTY was able to pull off all these different ideas, different identities, different play styles, but this fell suit. The game number 2 didn't really work out for them. I think maybe they could be reading into NSL a little bit too much, but whereas NSL, they successfully read, the draft from game number from the previous games coming out from GGTY. But with that, speaking about the draft, let's hop into the draft, ladies and gentlemen. This is game number 3 once again. Looking at the bands coming out of GGTY, it's going to be Hakshan and the Ziggs Respect band coming out as well, and NSL in the second pick bans away the Morgana and Ari and also the Jace, but GGTY secures the Camille.
So they grabbed the Camille, which is interesting because they've constantly been banning that one away, and then they ban away the Ari, the thing that I said that Rainbow wanted to play, so that they would be able to execute that combo composition going forward. Yeah, I felt like the Senna was going to be a pretty interesting one, considering what we've seen so far. The fact that they've actually looking to go for it earlier on GTY's side is quite interesting to me. I know that they do enjoy playing that, especially with Doi, and then Den can play a AP bot laner. Then generally play something along the lines of like the Morgana, but seeing Morgana banned out, have to switch that around, change things out. If they go for the Garen, there are still a number of options available, right? You can still go for like Darius set, Renekton set, something along those lines. So I'm curious if that's going to mean that they want to pick that one up first, because I think mid lane option pool is still relatively open, and if you pick up like the Darius or like the Renekton or the set here, we will see a couple of bans come through on the side of GGTY to get rid of the other options.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like what NSL should do right now is to pick up a top laner, but looking at that, ooh, that's a Jax.
Wait, what, is that you? Okay, so
Sorry.
Jax is going to be interesting here because it does seem to fill a similar position as what the Fiora does in like that first game, but also slightly differently, right? We talk a little bit about why and how Jax performs in its best form is when it is trying to actively restrict and take away resources from the enemy jungler, and the rest of the team is on the same page and aligned in trying to do that. So going into this one, if we want to see NS13 be able to pop off and carry the game with whatever they have, I'm hoping to see that they will try and pull the Jax ahead and really try and deny whatever jungler GTY go for by rotating together. This means they need to pan this up with some pretty strong individual laners as well. So I'm hoping to see something like the Renekton coming through instead of something like this.
Yeah, and now looking at, I really have to I was, I was actually expecting NSL to actually pick up a Darius. Like, I feel like the Darius would scream something very good right here, especially going up against Garen. You need more damage because the heal is totally nutty, in my opinion. But now NSL bans away the Gragas and the Diana, whereas GGTY bans away the Lulu and the Jarvan. I feel like the Lulu wasn't really much of a big issue, but wait, is that a cinched?
Okay, so going for the cinch, I think that's all right too. Actually, as strange as it might sound, because the cinch is just able to kind of like run in, and it's going to want to try and get to the backline, ignore the Garen for the most part. It actually also helps the Jax a decent amount to really be able to lock down their targets when we want to try and rotate early on, find the jungle, skirmish, things like that. Orianna, I think, is an okay pickup. Now they need to try and go for a jungler. I don't think Camille is the best bet. Actually, Camille could be fine. If Camille gets a hook shot and jumps away, but then you just kind of concede to the Jax in most cases, maybe something with a little bit more firepower could take on Jax in the jungle, but Camille's a pretty safe option too.
Yeah, I like the Camille jungle in my opinion from GGTY, because remember you mentioned that Jack's goal is to really run at you into the jungle, try to take resources away from you. The hook shot will be able to allow you to like either disengage or come in with a wrecking ball, right? But it seems like GGTY, they've locked in a draft like this, the Lux and the Senna going down to the bottom side, and then Orianna in the mid. Feel like Garen definitely couldn't be jungling, right? But Garen definitely going to the Baron lane, Camille going to pick up the smite duty, whereas NSL, wow, bringing back the Ashe as well into this game.
So after 3 games, we finally see the Ziggs banned away. This means they need to go for something else. The Ashe coming in here is supposed to provide some utility, because you have a lot of damage in the form of the Corki and the Jax already anyway. So this is like a low economy, high utility kind of marksman in the Dragon lane that's supposed to pair well with stuff like the Galio, so the Galio can continue to roam, while the Ashe is able to play relatively safe. I'll play in the mid lane, especially in these shorter lanes, is going to have a safer position and even have good opportunities to catch somebody off with the ultimate. We have a number of really high priority targets. The only one that you can't really go for is the Garen. Senna, Lux, Orianna, to some extent Camille, all options to lock down with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. So overall, yeah, it's a very interesting composition that we see from both these two teams. I think it would just barely give the edge over to NSL, but GGTY have incredible opportunity to continue to scale, and if they shut down NSL, there's very little I think they can do to try and like stifle that.
Yeah, there's not. Yeah, I really agree with you. GGTY, they walked in with this kind of draft. I would say pretty interesting. There's a lot of damage, however, on the other side of the aisle. NSL drafted 3, well, technically 2 unorthodox champion going into game number 3 this time, and I would say I'm really excited to see how Sinch and Ashe manage to perform in the tournament setting, because I don't know, I call Sinch a troll pick, but I may be wrong.
Sinch definitely could seem that way, but offers a lot.
Yep, it does. Sinch does. But ladies and gentlemen, on to game number 3 we go. GGTY spawning in the blue, NSL in the red. Sinch top lane, Ashe mid lane, Corki bottom, Dragon lane. Pretty interesting line matchup coming out, but taking a look at the jungles though, it is going to be Jack starting in the red side, and it's GGTY starting on their own red side, completely opposite of the map.
Okay, I actually think I prefer this more, having like that shorter lane to play from, so you don't have to worry so much about being ganked as much. If you have like decent vision control, you're using your utility well, the volley can clear out the waves really easily. You can actually play it pretty safe. And I was talking about how this can free up space for the Gal to go and rotate over, so I kind of do actually like this a little bit more. I'm trying to give us a little bit of information so to get some knowledge on where Rogue is going to start and where they're going to try and path with. Both junglers, again, going to path on opposite ends. We don't see them start on the same side. They're going to try and trade some control on opposite ends of the map, but Camille's clear is so fast. Jax, you can see here, NS13 is trying to do a full clear. Every single camp done. So this is supposed to help her get to a stronger point earlier on by getting more golden EXP, but this means that her lane's going to be a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit more exposed to potential ganks.
Yeah, I like the way that, the Jax micromanages the Raptors as well, because there's technically splash damage, so really kudos there. There's something I definitely learned for my future games, but in fact, those two junglers will be able to meet right on. It is going to be the Camille getting stunned all the way up. John Easy coming in for the shoot. The tactical sweep will be activated. NS10 and NS13 looking a little bit low, but it's going to be the blue team first blood. Going over GGTY, giving the first double kill over to GGTY.
Maybe not the best decision to go there. A little bit suspect. Not sure why they tried to go for that. I think they wanted to go for double skull crab, but they had information that they were gonna go path towards this side anyway, unless they had expected them to try and clear out one way side of the map, like the bomb side, and then go straight for the skull crab there. So kind of interesting how things turned out. It's going to end up costing them 2 kills in the early stages of the game. Yeah, I mean, you know, for your future matches, James, Counter Strike works by the number of times like like things hit you while you're in the Counter Strike. So the Raptor is like the most amount of value they can get because it will increase the amount, like the efficiency of the Counter Strike through that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And not only to that as well, GTY. While, you know, the Camille's working on the top side Skuller Crab, Massive Justice will be able to go all the way down on top of NS10, but not enough to do anything. It feels like NS13, you know, doing some dewarding in their own jungle, but they do have NSL's Ash that provides so much vision with the Hawk as well. So that's something to take note of if you were GGTY. But in fact, we're going to see a massive taunt coming out, then force the flash away. Lucifer low health once again. Camille coming in. Here comes the stun from Ash right in the mid lane, giving the damage over. But the shield's coming out from the center as well, allowing the Rogue to barely survive there. Nice execution coming out from GGTY. But so much damage coming out from this Corki, but not enough. But one more hit from NSL. All of these two teams so scrappy at the bottom lane.
A 2 for 3 at the end of it all, and NS13 barely manages to eke out the win there. So very close. They get to crash that wave again. It's actually going to be pretty decent coming through. Like, look at the gold on IMP at NS11 right now. 3,000 and 2,200. So like the 2,006, 2,200. You can see the gold advantage on the Corki right now, despite the fact that the kills were pretty even because of the way that they were, because the fact that they end up crashing that wave. And so now when the wave comes back, now they get to collect extra again. And we also see another Infernal Drake spawn. This is really interesting. Number of times now we've seen Infernal Drake spawns for the first ones. It actually changes like the way that you want to play out a lot of these these situations when it's Infernal Drake and not any other.
Yeah, RNG is actually blessing this particular series right now. Package has been picked up by NSL. GGTY already setting up Cam, working on this Rift Herald right now. It's up to NSL to try to steal it away from them. NS11 will start by dashing all the way in, but at the other side of the map, package should be delivered by the side of NSL. IRP trying to land down the damage on top, do it. The center will not be able to survive any longer, and now John Easy forced to flash away. 2 kills right at the Rift Herald fight, and now NSL will take this up easily.
Beautiful pickup from NSL. Now they want to quickly recall, come back, and reposition for that dragon, because that's exactly what GGTY is going to do themselves. So they need to be able to respond to that. Wonderful fight for them. They had the package. They were able to use that moment to really punish GGTY as they tried to look for the engage. We saw IRP just laying waste to the bot lane of GGTY. Doi was taking a lot of damage. Rainbow was taking a lot of damage. And when we even saw the ultimate, the hero's entrance from NS11, just to give a shield to IRP, just for safe measure. It wasn't like she was trying to go anywhere, but she wanted to really make sure that IRP was safe, get that magic damage shield. And I think he did make a bit of a difference at the end of it all.
Yeah, and now NSL, after that Rift Herald fight, and now they secured our Infernal Dragon already. The coal is in the furnace, and they're gonna choo-choo all the way into the Nexus. NSL will try to bait the fight GGTY for the first turret goal, but GGTY managed to secure it for themselves first. So nice call, but it's more like a damage control coming off of GGTY right now.
It's damage control for sure, but they have opportunities to make big plays happen. NS19 might just see herself becoming a casualty in the war, the flashiest play. But she gets out, she gets to safety.
Yeah, like, thank God for Rogue actually, you know, targeting on top of NS10 with the Hexer Ultimatum. And I feel like, you know, if you want to fight if you're a Camille, fighting a Singe in that small little Hexer Ultimatum that you casted, what the Singe would do is just run circles, ring around, roses around, you'll take damage, and that's exactly where the Singe wants you to be, and it's hilarious.
The pace of the game here should slow down for a bit. NSL are continuing to look for some time to let the Jack scale up. Whereas GGTY should be pretty content with this too. They just need a little bit longer for the Garen and the Senna to actually get to a pretty reasonable point. You can see now the Garen, an item and a half completed, plus the boost enchantment, of course. actually in a pretty comfortable position against a lot of the damage out from NSL.
Yep, NSL, at least I'm looking at the Jax this time around. It's a lot more farm out as compared to the other Jaxes that we've seen in this tournament thus far. NSL slowing it all the way down. The bodies from the Ashe has been helping them to wave clear very quickly. It's a 3-man from the side of GGTY. They really want to try to push this in quickly, whereas NSL is working on other sides of the map, trying to push in on the top side, but the Garen is there.
What has been really nice for NSL is a lot of the gold has gone to the Corki. The other major damage source that is not the Jax. So the fact that they're able to get so much money onto IAP so that she's able to output more damage and potentially kill them all is a really good sign that we're seeing here from NSL.
It's low. I think this low eco on Ashe in the mid lane is really helpful. I'm not too sure about this, but I don't see Ashe doing most of the damage, but the arrow will be able to land. Its utility is so obnoxious, and now John Easy forced to run away. NS13 coming in with helicopter gets taunted to oblivion from the side of GGTY. The Garen will fall, and also the top side of GGTY's turret will not fall.
Not yet. But they can take it at any point, and that's always a good sign for NSL. The fact that they know that, hey, we can still pick this one up. They could wait now, they can come back later. I think right now they have some other issues they need to deal with, particularly down in the Dragon lane. I think NS10 is going to want to deal with that. To see the Righteous Glory as they try to run in. Get grounded, but I don't think that's going to be too big of an issue. Turret does go down, though, in that time.
Yeah, GGTY, I think at least is keeping NSL a little bit busy with what they need to do. Yeah, they're focusing on the top side. They managed to take down the Garen, but that takes up so many, resources from them and infinite manpower as well. And now with the Hawkshot, though, we'll review that GGTY is not in the area of the Rift Herald, but they do have an inkling. They do want that Rift Herald for themselves to crack open more objectives from the side of NSL because, well, more turrets the better, right? More gold, more map dominance, more map control, and of course NSL stacking the mid lane, just posing that problem. But speaking about problem, NS19 gets caught out, goes into gold, and will be able to flash away as NSL tries to punish. No punishment as of now, but GGTY, they're backing off.
Interestingly enough, they've actually started up the Rift Herald after backing off, but this is the package available for IFP, but then she's instantly taken down because she's gone too far forward without her team backing her up.
A team backing her up. Rogue lands a hook shot to jump away, but unfortunately Jax tried to jump on top of its allies, won't be able to get out alive, and NS19 tries to kite all the way back, but the damage from the Garen will spin to win at the same time. Singe picks up another kill, but that's not enough damage coming up from inside NSL. GGTY, I'm not too sure whether they secured the Rift Herald, but now, the Mountain Drake could be wide open. No, I don't think it's the Mountain Drake. The mid lane is wide open, and in fact, plonking down the Rift Herald to try to crack open the defenses of NSL. That could actually allow NSL to be a little bit busy on this Rift Herald. Work towards the Mountain Drake.
Helps them get more damage down into the mid lane as well, so the mid lane is starting to look a little bit weaker and a little bit softer, but the fact that that turret is still up makes it a little bit more difficult for GGTY to try and rotate around. They won't really be able to get into the jungle as easily, but once that turret is down, it simplifies things a lot and takes away a lot of the safety from the Ashe, who's wanted that shot lane to begin with, and why they had NS19 pilot that anyway. So they actually trade this one for the Dragon. I think NS11 should be able to block this one out quite easily. NS13 grabs the smite on the Dragon first.
Yes, NS11, nice taunt right there, but it's going to be NS10 taking the bulk of the damage. She's still alive, will be able to walk away, but also spewing smoke all over the place. NSL, I think that was a lot of bravery and bravado. Will be able to take down the Drake right in front of GGTY. Man, I would have backed off, but NSL, they held their ground.
They held their ground and were able to make sure that he got the Dragon exchange here. There still is a little bit gold on the table by picking up this topside turret that NS13 is looking for right now. That should actually equalize things pretty much. It's just going to be less than the components different in gold. And most of the money has still been going to the Corki and the Jax while looking to scale up anyway. Just about to hit main points of power. Okay, you see that? Hourglass? That Zhonya's Hourglass? That is the side that IAP said, I died in that last fight? Why did I die? Is it because I went into 5 people with my package? No, it's because I didn't have Hourglass. So now the Hourglass is gonna say, yes, I can dive into 5 people. I'm gonna hit the Hourglass button, and team, please come save me.
Yeah, that's a lot of trust, I would say. You know, delivering a package, delivering a payload, but of course, you know, sacrificing himself. But at least the Zonya just helps him go golden a little bit. I like that mentality going in with the Corki. But however, let's take a look around the map right now. GGTY. Yes, they cracked open all the first tier turrets of the side of NSL. It's a lot easier to sneak into, you know, NSL's jungle, but GGTY, I always comment on top of their map control right here. If you notice, 4 wards scattered all across the map, they generally have a good idea wherever NSL and where NSL might be. Whether they can use this information, though, that's posed another question, but I just like how GGTY is working on this one right now.
Baron coming up pretty soon, but the package is up too, so I think IMP needs to be careful not to go and pick, not to buy that without, okay, gets the flash at least. Yeah, IMP needs to be careful not to pick that up until they're actually looking to try and fight for something here.
Yep, they're looking for more, something. Rainbow will be flung all the way back. Takes a lot of damage from the poison right there. You can hear the package being picked up once again. Getting ready for the Rift Herald fight just in time. But NSL, they do... Oh, sorry, that's the Baron. But NSL, they do have the Drake advantage right now. And in fact, 2 of my favorite Drakes, the Inferno and the Mountain Drake, I think they're looking very strong this time around as compared to, you know, game number 1. And, you know, NSL, with this momentum, they should look to try to crack open at least the mid lane of GGTY, because that one has been standing up for a little bit too long.
A lot of the practical stats, right? Having a lot of that economy there and available for you, even though the gold doesn't necessarily reflect that, they have a lot in terms of stats out from those 2 dragons. So that little bit of an advantage is going to matter significantly, especially when the big majority, the chunk of gold has been going over to John Easy. So if the Garen isn't really in that fight, it's difficult for him to get much done. He's not really able to play very effectively into these situations, especially because they have been committed to trying to isolate him off with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. You hit those, and then you get the Galley to combo CC, Jax combo CC, and try and kill him off. Now, no flash, slightly more difficult for this Garen to play from.
Yeah, and there's also Blade of the Ruin King being built by the side of NSL, right? You got Ashe, and of course got Jax. They're so high DPS they could just literally shred through the HP bars of John Easy. And now GGTY focusing on the bottom side where the Drake will be spawned, coming in around 15 seconds as NSL. I don't think they're looking at the Drake, they're looking at the Baron.
Yeah, and why would they look at a Drake when you have a very easy Baron they can set the play from? NS11, she uses the taunt a little bit too early. That could be slightly problematic. Doesn't really matter because they get information there anyway. Hookshot reposition back over into the Baron pit. NS13, she's stuck at the back of it. It's like, please come over, let me jump to you. Doesn't want to have to commit flash just to get out from that.
Yep, good teamwork coming out from NSL right now. But if you notice, GGTY, they have control whenever, you know, GGTY walks through. NSL just gives them a wide berth. They don't even want to take it, and because of that, GGTY rotates over to the Dragon, and now NSL is like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna start the Baron right now. In fact, it is going to be the taunt happening for the side of Galio. John Easy gets knocked out all the time. This is the composition that NSL really want GGTY to work off. Refocus on John Easy, and the rest is butter. But the problem is they may have committed a little bit too much resources into John Easy. You can see, oh my goodness, all the Zhonya's being activated all across the board. Fight being split into
Wait,
two.
NSL, she's still the
fight.
fight.
Jax still coming in and also picks it up, and now IRP, complete wipe over to the side of GGTY.
You thought you had her, you thought you had them.
Man.
No, you never even did. NS13 says, I'm just gonna step away for a quick moment and then I'm jumping right back into the fight. We'll finish off the remaining members of GGTY. And with 10 seconds left on John Easy, it's an easy pick up on this inhibitor. This is going to open up an express path, and when you have it, it's the exact opposite side for this Dragon. So now they get the reset. They have to deal with the waves coming in. This lets NSL reposition over for this Dragon faster. And one step closer to them win. If they get this Dragon, they get the Elder, Cloud Drake, it's just another thing that will help, another tool in the back pocket that will help them close this one out. But basically, they're looking very close to the full build anyway. They have a lot of damage. Big props to NS19 for surviving as long as she did. With that Hourglass, with the kites, the kiting that she did, the I don't think he called it alt walk anymore. I don't think anybody calls it alt walk anymore. With the kindness she did, she bought so much time and space. GGTY ended up overstaying and letting Jax really jump into the fight.
Yeah, ooh, Arrow connects to the backline for the side of NSL, GGTY, but NSL will lose the cinch right there, and NS19 constantly so disciplined, trying to back it all the way out. But the members of NSL, they're nowhere to be seen. The Jax as well as the Corki a little bit late for the fight. Would that actually cost them the fight though? But NSL, they do have the Baron buff, and they do have the minions that actually does quite a lot of damage this time around. John Easy tries to spin. NS11 falls for the time being. IRP looking a little bit low as well, forced to back away. The pokes coming out from GGTY a little bit too hard to handle.
Not the best position for NSL to be in, but they were still able to at least force man GGTY. So even despite that all, we're still able to get a relatively good position. You can see at that point, IP had already committed everything she had to try to get that faster. The Valkyrie was used, so she didn't have the opportunity to dash over the wall and reposition into a better spot where she would have been able to output significantly more damage, right? We saw NSL still manage to get a pretty close win despite all of that. The most important thing was that NSL did not die this Jax side. Because she did, she does not give away her bounty, she does not give away any extra gold. She's going to continue picking up gold and EXP. See what happens. She's going to the silent. She's level 15 now. She's so strong, and she has that hourglass. So even in those moments where they collapse in onto her, where they jump in with the hashtag ultimatum, she was still able to go into stasis and buy time while NS19 was trying to build space for her by using the volley.
Yeah, I feel like really, as long as NS13 is alive, and I would say Ayapi is alive, there's still a decent chance for NSL, right? And also, you mentioned about the Ashe as well. I feel like Ashe in this particular game is like the hidden hero, hidden champion as well, I would say, because the way that Ashe has been always kiting backwards, you can see how GGTY always constantly trying to focus down NS19, thinking that she's the one that dishes out most of the damage, but no, NSL, the gold has been spread on top of the Jax, on top of the Corki, and you saw what happened, right? NSL tried to flank GGTY with the Corki, and they were able to push GGTY back a little bit. Yes, they sacrificed the Cinch, they sacrificed the Galio, but they are not the main characters of NSL. GGTY needs to try to reprioritize the right characters to focus on in the draft of NSL.
I'm not sure about taking the Dragon there because it just helps get the Elder Drake coming up sooner.
Then gets knocked up all the way up. It is going to be the ultimate spreading. The shields coming in. Hexer Ultimatum will be used to try to cut down the Corki, but that is not enough. NS13 will walk away safely, and ooh, Ashe forced to pop the Jonya right there, and the Flash as well. So NSL, yep, these survivability utilities has been spent, but John Easy playing a solo game right here, looking at the bottom lane.
But they've gone over to the Baron now. They still have enough HP to try and fight through this, but a lot of the missiles used already by the Corki, so they don't have much damage left for the fight. Instead, they just try and finish this one off. The Camille jumps in, steals away the Baron, and suddenly things aren't looking so clear-cut. They've also taken down NS13, and they put them down to Stasis. Enchant the Crystal Arrow to buy some time, buy some space. Shockwave clips onto the Ashe, and Rogue will come back from the dead, back out alive, and take down the remaining members. Baron over the GGTY.
And not only just Rogue that came back from the dead, I feel like the hope of GGTY came back from the dead as well. It was looking very bleak all the way to the early to the mid-game part, because we're all talking about NSL that have tremendous amount of damage, but GGTY, they stole the Baron, and now, don't forget, this Senna is also starting to scale, has been hidden all across the board, just dealing damage a little bit, spreading the shields. You thought that she doesn't really have any impact, and now she's starting to hurt.
2,000 HP left on the Nexus though, so if they can get the waves in again, we saw what happened last time around because it was so focused on trying to split push down to the bottom side, because it was so focused on the Baron, the super minion waves were able to make their way into the Nexus, and we're this close to bringing it down into critical HP territory. That's the same thing that NSL can try and play for. That's the reliable strategy at this point. It's nothing to do with the Barons, nothing to do with the Dragons, it's about getting those waves in. If they can find anyone in that side space, whether that's going to be NS13 or anyone at all, this could be a good start to a fight for them.
This could be a good start indeed. John Easy tried to spin to win, but no more winning for him. He will fall. The big raid boss from the side of GGTY has fallen, and NSL does have the manpower advantage right now. GGTY will focus their crosshairs on top of the mid lane turret instead. Try to use the Baron buff to try to push it all the way in. NSL, good defense coming out, but GGTY has not ended yet. There's so much range in this Lux. There's so much range in the center, and they try to poke down NSL. And now it's up to NSL to try to look for a flank, but they're slowly coming up from their bases right now. They have to go back and resupply or refuel and pick up the package so that, you know, GGTY avoids that siege once again.
Reset coming back, didn't actually go for the package, decided they don't need that to win this fight. Nice shockwave to stop NSL teams engaged with Enchanted Crystal Arrow. You see the Singe pulling in Doi.
Oh, big damage coming out from NSL. We'll be able to just push down Doi all the way down to the ground. Nice taunt coming out. NS11 just leading down the fight. As long as they keep this Corki and Ash alive, there should be a lot of chance for them to walk around. Yes, GGTY stole the Baron buff, but NSL was telling them, I am not out of the fight just yet.
Huge taunt out from NS11. The taunt got 3 people, and that does matter because we saw how low they got towards the end of that fight. If any micron of damage came through and actually tagged NSL, they would have died for sure. So being able to hold them in place, you know, it's not a matter about not killing anybody there. It's the fact that nobody else on NSL's side died. So now they get to position over for this dragon with 20 seconds left on the timer. They get to walk in first. They get to come in and stop positioning for this. IIP needs to recall now. She needs to pick up the package because soon we're going to see a fight for the Elder Dragon. We're going to see the song and dance. Everyone's going to go kumbaya. IIP is going to do exactly that. And with the Baron coming up, both of these two options are available for the teams.
Yeah, it's going to be a very big fight happening very, very soon. Ladies and gentlemen, NSL and GGTY. NSL kind of forfeited the position right there, but maybe because of Corki, I'm not too sure why she's doing about, like, you know, not going back for the package. But hopefully, you know, NSL is looking for a pickoff right there. The stun coming in to lead the charge as well. You don't need to lead a charge with the champion if you can lead a charge in with an arrow. And now NS11 will follow up, isolating, then all the way down, gets melted down, and John Easy, now the big raid boss, gets chasing around Singe, but you don't chase the Singe around. Looking still a little bit healthy. IIP is still healthy at the same time. John Easy gets shredded apart behind his Gatling gun. And ladies and gentlemen, the biggest wall from the side of GGTY is no more. And now NSL will try to collapse all the way in. Looking a little bit healthy. In fact, they're going to bypass all the inner turrets. They're going to go straight to the Nexus core, which is so vulnerable. And GG over to NSL.
And NSL will pick up the second win in a hard-fought battle.
Wow.
Both teams at any point could have won that game. GGTY with this close, taking away that Baron, when in a position to maybe win it all as well. But this time around, it's no Fiora, but it is a Jax, and we're able to find much more value with this. A big part of all that was the ability to be able to lock down a single target before all the fighting actually ensues. I know you mentioned that you don't have to go in with a champion, and that's exactly it. There's so much safety in having an arrow flying down the ultimate, being able to lock down the target, than it is to have to throw in an actual physical body. So using that, they caught off dead, which is crazy. I don't even know what they were trying to get done there, but then getting caught and then the instant follow-up from NS11 was exactly the kind of coordination and the kind of shot calling that needed to be done. Both these two teams, level 15, they went the full distance. It's a long game, but they won out in the end game.
Yeah, you thought... I'm literally, like, almost not say speechless, but I was like literally just stunned by the arrow. I mean, it's just so good. That arrow just literally delivered the victory over the side of NSL. Just insane coming out in the follow-up of the Heroes Entrance as well. And then after that, you can see how, you know, John Easy is constantly trying to chase that Singe, but Singe with the Lianji's Torrent, with the Rylai, it's so hard to chase down the Singe. And then after that, you know, NSL won that fight, they ignored the second tier turret, they ignored the inhibitor turret, they just dive right into the vulnerable Nexus. GG, so textbook, so coordinated, and I would say a quite big brain coming out from NSL.
Wonderful pickup for NSL, and that's them one step closer to winning the series. Very impressive set still from GGTY as well. You know, they had good understanding of what needed to be done. The Garen was an incredible nuisance in the side lanes. So I'm actually looking forward to see if they want to continue working with this composition, because at any point I felt like they could have taken the win away anyway. So it's not as if the composition itself was at fault. I think that they just had a difficult time playing up against NSL, and NSL has such a strong early game that they asserted themselves with the lead anyway.
Yeah, and not only just, NSL asserted a strong early game. I would say that GGTY may find a bit of a problem going up against NSL in terms of that mid lane pick. Like, seriously, who would have thought an Ashe mid lane? Yes, it makes sense, especially in earlier parts of the game, but then at the later part, she becomes this non-committal, committal engage for your whole team. If it doesn't hit, sure, it's okay. But if it hits, it's an easy follow-up for the side of NSL just to win. It's like almost a Ziggs bomb, but this Ziggs bomb basically freezes the whole entirety of that part of the map. But with that said, though, ladies and gentlemen, GG over the side of NSL. 2-1 is the score, with NSL in the lead. One more game, and that will be it. NSL, one more game away to be poised the winner, the champion of this particular tournament. And of course, with that said, game number 4 will be hot. And that said, don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. FSL Wild Rift Open. This is day number 2, and this is also the grand finals. Germany right here is Grandon, and my name is Jace. And of course, I think Gamernism, there is a request from Rain. Next game, station names. It's tough.
Yeah, but there are some issues for sure. Not everyone's gonna get them, but you can try. You can feel free to do that and go ahead. If anything, so for some context for those that might not know, so the NSL is the north-south line, right? So it kind of runs across Singapore from, well, you guessed it, north to south, right? So if you're on it right now, they might actually see that it's about to rain in some of these places, and for some of them, it's actually already raining, right? So good weather. Maybe you want to close this one out quick, go take a nap, and then wake up, they can go celebrate or something. I don't know, whatever the plan's gonna be.
Yeah, and of course, it's a metro station, right? It's a metro line. That's why it's called North-South Line. Yeah, so apparently the team name, the player names, I don't know whether we'll be doxing them if that's the case, but I think we're just going to continue calling them, right, NS10 or NS11. But those who are, with the bigger brain, I think they would just easily just Google search up. But the point being is this is match point or championship point for the side of NSL already. GGTY from the Philippines, NSL from Singapore. 2-1 is that score. How is GGTY gonna be drafting this time around? We shall soon find out as we hop into the draft.
You said something that really caught my attention. You said it's a metro line. Is it technically a metro? It's like
MRT.
Not. Yeah, MRT is mass rapid transit. A metro is an underground line. Part of it is underground, but it's not all underground. So is it technically a metro line?
I don't know. The technicalities is a little bit confusing for me, but you know what's not confusing for me is going into the draft. GGTY, Olaf banning away Jax, and also even the Akshan. GGTY not confused about who to ban away already this time around. The Olaf is, so I would say, it's an interesting one because they could snap pick the mill quite right on the way. NSL bans away the Jace, Morgana, and the Ahri.
So a couple of the picks that have been causing them a little bit of a headache up until this point. So I do quite appreciate them getting rid of some of those champions. Still, again, of course, it's kind of shifted away. What was the bans for the second game? It was Olaf something and then Akshan. Was it Jace?
I think it's a
so
Ziggs.
this time...
It was a Ziggs ban. That's why the Ashe was picked up.
Okay, so it was a Ziggs ban. Then now changing it over to the Jax, some of the things have been giving them problems. But they get rid of the Jace themselves, so not willing to give that one up. Very similar composition to what we saw from last time around, except this time we see the Garen going over to NSL. Whereas GGTY, they get the Ziggs, it's going to give them some wave clear. It's actually going to be quite useful with the setup, right? So if you pair Ziggs center up in a matchup, their range is incredible. There's a lot of harass onto the Galio. You might even want to consider putting the Galio mid lane at that point because of how difficult it is to sustain in lane against the two of them. A couple of bans still left available, some jungle pickups. If I think at this point NSL probably want to ask GGTY to play Lee Sin. Like it looks like it's one of the pickups that they can afford to kind of pilot against. Otherwise, I'm still looking at things like the Orianna, Diana still available for GGTY. NSL, I think, want to move away from that as a whole.
And now, I respect what GGTY did in order to ban away the Lee Sin, right? These junglers don't want to get like very far ahead, especially we got scaling Corki. You got Corki that could scale very quickly in the early game, and of course Camille instant counter, so agreeable to remove that away from the board. But NSL locks in the Diana. Try to look for the backline because there's so much juicy backline coming out from GGTY, right? Like the Ziggs, like the Senna, technically speaking, and of course, if the Camille comes into, whoa, is that a Yasuo coming in from the side of GGTY?
Yeah, it looks like it. Yasuo pickup. I guess you have the Satchel, but then that probably means you want to go for something like the Malphite here, right? Surely. A couple of options still available for them with this one. I'm surprised that NSL wanted to go back for Diana because it didn't seem to be the most effective. Very difficult for them to execute on. I felt like they maybe could have gone for something that would have allowed NS19 to play in a similar branch to what we've been seeing so far. But either way, if you have the damage to follow up with it, we saw how well IMP was able to pilot the Corki. Get it? Pilot Corki, haha. Pilot the Corki, if she's able to continue that performance with Diana, also having a pretty good combo with them, it could do very well. That wind wall is actually supposed to try and prevent a lot of that Corki damage, I think.
I can't believe that took me 3 seconds to get it. Like, that slow and steady realization. But it's going to be Aurelia getting picked up this time around for the side of NSL. Pretty interesting unorthodox champions being picked up in this particular series. We saw the Ashe, we saw the Singed, and now it's going to be the Aurelia. And also the Yasuo and Wukong December. I feel like GGTY, this draft kind of screams like a few patches ago, but it seems like it's gonna be another fasting Senna, and with a Ziggs to poke constantly. But on the other side of NSL, it feels like Corki will have to play a game of dodgeball. Is that gonna be a Galio support?
Yeah, probably Galio support, and Diana will go mid lane, Garen will go top side. So matchups wise, Camille actually has a good matchup against the Garen. It's like one of the I say good, but it's like relatively good, right? Because Garen kind of has a pretty decent matchup against a lot of champions, but Camille actually has a pretty okay time, especially if you end up taking the resolve tree against the Garen. A lot of the initial damage the Garen does is pretty much mitigated. Then you have the tactical sweep. So I would say that GGTY actually have some pretty good matchups here. It's dependent on NSL to actually outplay their opponents, because a lot of things can be blocked by the wind wall. One of the biggest spells that really has, or in fact, most of the spells. You have the Vanguard's Edge and the Flawless Duet. Both these two spells can be blocked on Windwall.
Yep, so we need to see whether they can actually scale all the way in. Just a bit of the small minor technical issues that the Yasuo could provide with the wind wall. Hope to see that NSL will be able to play around this and secure the championship. Or could it be GGTY going to equalize this game score? We shall see, ladies and gentlemen. Into the Rift we go. Spawning in the blue, GGTY. Yasuo mid lane, Wukong jungle. Whereas on the other side, NSL in the red, Aurelia jungle, Garen top lane. Interesting lineups coming out from both of these two teams.
We did see Aurelia jungle a little bit in the past. I feel like NS13 is just flexing her champion pool at this point. She's like, I played Jace, I played Jax, I played Fiora. Can I play Aurelia next? A unique champion every single game where possible. Very interesting though. Very cool to see them have that flexibility. The rest of the team are playing staples though. They're going back to things that have been working for them pretty well, and for a good reason, I suppose. NSL, they have the game advantage, so they just need one more win to be able to close this one out. But you don't want to rest on your laurels. Things can change at any point. Ideally, you want to close things out like here and now.
Yeah, and you mentioned about NS13, right? It feels like she's playing a different champion every single time that we see her. It's like that challenge you go into while you're playing, right? Okay, you can only play the champion once. You cannot play it a second time and try to do something. It feels like
Nuzlocke.
Yeah, something like that, right? And then S13 just flexing all over in this Wild Rift Open. But here we go. Let's take a look at GGTY though. Wukong definitely needs to try to scale all the way up to level 5. Yasuo level 5 as well. That's where the power spikes come into play. But you mentioned, Grandin, Camille should do pretty well into NS10, so NS10 should probably play in the back foot just a little bit, whereas NSL could probably play around in the bottom side because not a lot of mobility spells coming out from the bottom side for the side of GGTY.
Yeah, there's not a lot of mobility, but they do have really long range. So even if when they are shoving out to the like extremities right under turret, they actually can stay relatively safe as long as they remember to like reposition after like their auto attacking and things like that. NSL is actually going to take the opportunity to reset here after dropping some vision right around the brush to give them some intel of where the enemy jungle could potentially be. I do believe the NS10 squad spotted out the Wukong, rotating up to the top side, trying to grab the Krugs here. So NS13 is looking for a chance to gank Rogue here.
The Rogue, Spider-Sense, Stingling will be able to like plant a ward to basically scout out the fact that NSL is looking to gank. But now here comes a whole village of GGTY. The root will be able to land on top of NS13. First blood goes over to the GGTY for now. Nice pick off right there for the early game.
9 people to kick down the Irelia. I respect that. The rotations to move over and get the jump onto Irelia, who wants to be that hyper carry, who wants to hyper scale. Really good decisions on their part. And because of that, NSL really weren't able to punish anywhere else. Rainbow comes back down to the bomb side, is going to continue farming it up. IFP is playing it pretty safe, and so like you see what the difference is when you have like the lane set up, because NSL went over the recall, bot lane was being shoved out. Bot lane was being shoved towards their side, so when they come back, they have to catch the wave, and because they were catching the wave, both Rainbow and Doi were able to rotate mid side, and then you have the junglers rotating. So many things come into play after the decision to go and rotate early first.
Yep, precisely. Just both these two teams just showing their prowess in terms of all these timings, right? But speak about timings, 30 more seconds left towards the Rift Herald and the Ocean Drake spawn. Looking at the key ultimates, it feels like NS11 slightly behind. Okay, I said that. Just barely made it in time to catch the Metro or MRT, you would call it, to hit level 5 for the Heroes entrance for the big team fight coming ahead.
Objectives starting to spawn up now. I think that GGTY actually have a better chance trying to contest for this one. You know, I think even with the quality package, I'm not sure how much they're going to be able to get done with this. Could still be a very difficult fight, especially if the Wukong is able to get a good multi-man knockup.
Yeah, it's gonna be very tough for NSL to actually, you know, try to invade all the way in, right? Because Wukong Yasuo, this wombo combo is a little bit tough, but GGTY kind of split their whole team apart into 2-3-2. Not too sure who to take. Was starting with Herald halfway through, but then starts to turn the sides over to the bottom side, whereas it is going to go on in Wham. Red team will be able to secure the Ocean Drake for now. Rogue in the back line trying to look for pickup, but it's going to be the Garen that falls from the side of NSL. Big ultimates landing, knocking the members of GGTY up, but that may not be enough. IFP is still letting down the liberty and the freedom all across the board, but GGTY is starting to lose a bit of steam. IFP coming in, John Easy flash in aggressively, a little bit low for now, but will be able to secure the kill. IFP is the only one left, not enough mana, not enough HP. Door to the world would not be able to catch IFP, but that is a good pick off coming out from GGTY.
Ooh, barely dodges away from that. John Easy was really close to death as well. Did a good job responding to that by the end of it all. Closing out that one. Taking away the dragon as well there, so timing not too bad, but that was largely important, I think, due to the fact that they had the package. Without the package, I think it would have been a very difficult fight for them to win. Now they get the reset. I'm not sure if Rift Herald is actually going to be available for them. I think with the Wukong ultimate down, there's a chance they could try and fight for it. Just right before the vision despawns.
And really, like, I just feel like Rogue this time around, yep, a bit of a switcheroo in terms of roles. Rogue going to the mid lane, of course. Dan was the support, if I'm not mistaken, goes into the jungle, and Rainbow, the mid laner of GGTY, swap all the way back to that Ziggs, the AP carry. And now NSL has finally set up camp in the Rift Herald. Door to the world, flashes away for now as NSL will secure this Rift Herald for themselves as well.
They should be able to try and respond to this mid side. The thing about the Wukong Yasuo combo is that they have one of like the strongest 2v2s in this game right now, because they're able to hunt themselves up so well. I'm generally not a huge fan of the Wukong in most situations. They like to pair together with Yasuo pretty often. Even then, it's not gonna have the most value.
Yeah, but here we go as well. One ultimate from Senna, one big bomb as well from GGTY. Globals is starting to help GGTY to actually survive the fight, but no big values coming out from both of these two sides. NSL managed to defend the mid lane turret though, so that's I would say a small little win against GGTY.
Small win for GGTY to get some chip damage down and get a little bit of pressure elsewhere. The Senna ultimate has so much impact across the map, and oh my goodness, they might actually take down NS19 here.
NS19 though, but here comes a hero entrance. Will be able to knock down Duo to the well. Now will face a taunt. Here comes the dive coming off of NS19, but forced to back away as well. But oh my goodness, the blade taunts coming off from NS13. So beautiful. They plong down the Rift Herald at the same time for good measure. Wow, beautiful execution.
It's actually going to go straight to the second turret too, so if she's able to escort the wave over, and it looks like she will be because nobody else is going to be there in time. The Wukong's only now starting to rotate down there. Yeah, the second challenge on the Rift Herald, lots of value here, I think.
Lots of value for the side of NSL as well. Very weak top side turret for GGTY. I'm starting to doubt the Yasuo pick right here. It feels like it kind of forced yourself to be kind of readable, kind of predictable. You want the Den will try to rotate around with Rogue to make sure that they get the money off. If you notice, they're always tag teaming around, so NSL could actually avoid them like the plague. Let's try to do something else, but it's going to be an Infernal Drake spawn in the bottom side within the next 30 seconds.
Infernal up, so IP is looking for the recall now. She ends up taking this package. It might be a little bit too premature. I just have to wait for a little bit. Well, I should try to dive in. Looking for that hourglass. Doesn't seem like IP has the economy to be able to afford it just yet. It's actually going to be a little unfortunate because she had it. I think she could just make her way in, dive in, and then have the Galio follow up with her.
Yeah, but both these two teams really want this Infernal Drake. Great boost of damage. Both these two teams desperately want the need. NSL needs to try to stay ahead. GGTY gets chopped all the way away off, but NSL may find themselves on the wrong side of the wall. And this time round, NSL, collapsing damage. They will be able to jump over the wall so easily. And now GGTY may find themselves losing not only just the lives of their whole team, they also picked up the Infernal Drake.
Let's go NSL! They run in, they bring in the package, bring in the big guns, and now they get the Inferno. You're gonna walk in mid lane, get a couple of turrets too, you know, don't stop there. You get everything in the world right now. NSL, so many things played on into why they were able to get a clean sweep in that 5-man fight there. And you have to keep in mind that GGTY didn't necessarily play the fight poorly, but rotating over Infernal Drake was the first thing because NSL were demanded, GGTY were demanded to go and rotate over to go and try and contest that, at the very least not give it away for free and make it hard for NSL. NSL came in with the package. I was a little concerned because she picked it up early on. There was a chance that you could have despawned if GGTY were willing to stall it out for long enough, but they knew exactly what GGTY's composition wanted to try and go for. They wanted to try to force the engage, and playing into that mindset from the enemy team, they get a great fight, get that sweep, get multiple objectives off.
Yeah, NSL, I think just benefiting from all this, you know, all the slight little execution mistake coming up on GGTY, but I really like how GGTY did in that previous fight, right? Like, they thought like there's the wall that they could actually use, but turns out everyone from NSL could just jump over the wall. I think that was a little bit hilarious, but not only just that, NSL picks up the Rift Herald at the same time, probably gonna plunk it all the way up the top side to kind of seal the deal. That's probably a very nice weak point for NSL to break through too. Big fight happening once again. It's gonna be lots of big bombs stacked on top of each other. NSL, wow, just Aurelia just walking around, just picking up hits from GGTY so easily, even though GGTY had probably like the full team right there, wasn't able to do anything.
Planning on that last game, Aurelia. This is it for NS13. She's had enough of all the nonsense, all the noise. Now she's coming here and says, I'm gonna play Aurelia. I'm gonna make it work. Despite the early game Snot has been able to claw back and now put herself in a strong lead, 10,000 gold, higher than anybody else in the game right now. 2,000 up over the Camille, the second highest, the highest on the enemy team. And just having a really strong kit for those 1v1s. Very difficult for Camille to outplay her. There are some opportunities there with the jump and the timings of things, but it's a difficult one.
Yep, it is going to be a difficult one, especially for GGTY. Like I said, I'm throwing a lot of doubt for the Wukong and the Yasuo, especially right now. They're not really roaming. I feel like the Malphite top lane could be even better, but they need to secure the Camille. NSL spreading all across the map right now, focusing on the top side, plunking the Rift Herald as well. John Easy just trying to split push, but you've got NS10 responding to it very nicely.
Actually didn't even have to use the Rift Herald for the charge. And look at the positioning from GGTY. They've all gone bot side, so it's only the Yasuo that can respond to this. But he's so much weak than the Diana at this point. Crystal Reflector makes all the difference. Dashing around, jumping around the Ziggs with a little bit more damage back. But the response is too late. I really comes back in. NS13 gets knocked up, has to flash away. The chase through from Den, looking for the re-engage. Coming in with the hook shot, jumps onto IMP, but gets onto the other target instead. NS19, the one they want to focus down first. Instead, Rainbow will get caught as collateral on the back end. NSL forcing GGTY into a corner.
Yeah, it's just so beautiful the way that NSL has been executing this. NS19, she knows that the members of GGTY is not there to ring. Force goes in for that fight against Rogue and just, duke it out. For a moment in time, you would have thought that Rogue could have gotten the upper hand to turn this around with the ultimate. But no, one big mega bomb coming in from the side of GGTY is also not enough to secure the kill from the NSL. It is just so hard because take a look at the gold difference right now, and of course the drag difference for NSL leading in every single form. GTY, it's an uphill battle to fight.
But I don't want to totally discredit GGTY yet, because they have a lot of wave clear in the form of the Ziggs to try and stall the game. A decent amount of blocking with the wind wall from the Yasuo, of course with the Senna continuing the scaling. The thing that has really, changed up this one especially is because of all the role swaps that have gone on, like Den going into the jungle, Rainbow going down to the bot side, stuff like that has kind of shifted the team composition around, and it has definitely changed the dynamic a little bit. I don't think that was a problem for them necessarily, because it was still super coordinated, especially in that early game, but a couple of miscalled fights, maybe due to the familiarity with the champions, kind of gave them that issue to figure out what their limits were, and so they took some fights that didn't exactly work out for them. And now NSL with the advantage, with the lead, 3 dragons and this Baron stacking up, GGTY really only have one option: clear out the waves and try to survive.
Yeah, GGTY is like, you've been driving the manual gear for a long time, and then suddenly you switch around into the auto gear and you're just looking for the clutch. Yeah, I think piloting no pun intended, piloting on different roles after you've been stick to this one particular role all throughout the tournament, and now in this final game they switch it around, especially in the game this important, may cost them. Now NSL will start on this Baron buff right there. GGTY not in position to contest this at all.
Given over to NSL. I'm looking for the lane states right now. Couple of waves they could start crashing out for, but it's actually not going to be that quick. They have to escort the minion waves almost entirely out from base. Thinking about lane assignments as well, NS13 could probably look to split push along with NS10. The two of them could work together. There are a lot of turrets to be had there, the inner turrets in the mid lane and the bottom lane. So they could try and pick those up while they wait for the Elder Dragon to spawn. Otherwise, they potentially bring NS13 up into the top side, into the Baron lane. Maybe try and grab the inhibitor there and close things out altogether.
Yes, as you can see, you talk about closing it out, right? GTY, I feel like they're starting to feel the jaw slowly clamp on top of the necks. NSL slowly closing in methodically. NS10, not sure whether they want to lead the charge, but then it is going to be with the Wukong, with the surround as well. Heroic entrance will be activated as well. Big ultimates used by the side of GGTY, but there's not enough damage as NSL will walk all over the blue hell bars and destroy all of them. Yes, do it to the world. Nice stun right there, but then you've got dead timers as well, but you don't have any more time, especially when you have a 5-man right in your own base. And with the Baron buff, ladies and gentlemen, NSL will be bashing on top of the Nexus, and GG over to NSL.
And your champions for the FSL Wild Rift Open, NSL, take it the series 3-1 in some very interesting situations going through. Different jungle picks every single game in the finals. We saw very different mid lane picks as well. NS19 went full circle back to Diana to close out the game, to close out the series, but has also shown us the Akshan, has shown us the Ashe, And on the side of GGTY, equally could be said, they have gone for very different compositions. This time around, trying to go for the Yasuo Wukong combo, trying to have that work together with the scaling and the safety that is afforded to them from the Senna Ziggs combo. And so we have so many different things changing up constantly. You know, you see some professional matches, every game is a very, very minute deviation from the previous. But this one has been a wild swing between all the different possible playstyles. NSL and GGTY have shown a full range of options in terms of what they can play.
Yeah, totally agree with you. It feels like, I mean, we've watched so many different finals, but NSL versus GGTY, it's almost felt like it's always it felt like a different team playing all the while because, NSL so flexible, and GGTY, same could be said, they put out, I would say, 4 different strategies, 4 different ideas going up against NSL. But in the end of the day, NSL still trumps all of them because I would say just the team dynamics for NSL is so good. GGTY, you can sense a little bit of confusion nearing the end of the game where they're not too sure what to do as of now, and then they just allowed NSL to walk all over with the damage and engage. Man, I feel like looking back at the previous game, not just the previous game, but the previous game that we watched earlier just now, that arrow was really sick coming out from that Ashe.
And that's the impact of the arrow. If you can recall it so clearly, I feel the same way for GGTY. Surely remembering that arrow coming across and really devastating their lineup, right? So we saw some really interesting ideas from NSL. I'm looking forward to see and what else they might have in store for us, because I think this is only one of the first steps going forward. They've been a team playing together for a really long time. Moving forward again, there's going to be there are going to be international events happening and medal events for the region as a whole. Today we see a Singaporean region team versus a Philippine region team competing, but we might see something different coming about in the future again as well.
Yeah, and with that said, there's a lot of interesting things happening in this region, especially for Wild Rift as well. And it has been a fantastic playoffs coming up in day 1 and day number 2 in the FSL Wild Rift Open. It has been a blast, especially casting with Grandin as well. Tremendous caster, I would say, very experienced, and well, he helped me a lot in terms of these small little minute details. So very thankful for FSL to provide me with this opportunity to cast with Grandin. And of course, this tournament would not happen without our sponsors, Intel and Yahoo. Once again, congratulations over to NSL from Singapore. Also, congratulations over to GGTY who made it thus far. And don't forget, they kind of beaten their rival, which is, if I'm not mistaken, Grind Sky, Ares earlier just now. With that said, thank you very much for joining us for today. And of course, the weather's looking very nice as well. Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.